I was just sitting and listening, but one of the questions I asked is like, do you guys have any habits you live by? And there was one habit that was common among all of them, and it wasn't your ice baths. It wasn't, some of them meditated, some of them didn't. I'm incredibly arrogant. I always knew from young. I always said, no, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. I'm gonna do this. I want to be worth this much by this age. But it also gives me a fire to prove it, especially now that I'm like on social and I've got a decent following. I can't now go ahead and fail. Everyone has 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work. Everyone has the third 8 hours. And those 38 hours is where everything happens. That's where you need to go to the gym. That's where you need to read. That's where you need to work. Your life is built. The quality of your life will solely be determined by how you spend your 38 hours.
Welcome back, everyone. Today's a special day because someone from South Africa came. Maurits, what's up? How are you doing, bro? Welcome back.
Very well. Thank you for having me. Second time. Oh, third time actually, but
let's not talk about the first time.
Yeah. Some technical difficulties.
Happy to be back. Always treat me well. Now I'm happy to come and have a lovely conversation again. I think the last one was really good, and this one will be better.
Yeah, the reactions on the last one was really positive. Like, people learned a lot of stuff, including us two, I think. We discussed things about the Matrix and the Black Rock and about what happened while Will Smith slapped the other guy. Like, all the things behind the scenes happened. So super interesting. But let's start off with you, bro. What have you been up to in the past 6 months? I think it was 6 months ago since we recorded last time.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work, a bit of traveling as well. I just came from London now, and I'm sure we'll touch on that in a little bit. I've been hard at work. It's summertime in Cape Town, so I've got some good networking and just really been spending the last couple months like working hard. I'm trying to take things to the next level, and I'm definitely going on that direction.
Oh my, good to hear. Yeah, about that London trip, bro. What were you doing there?
It was amazing. So I'll tell the full story. We'll need a couple minutes. So at 15, I was interning at this hedge fund in Cape Town, and it was amazing. I mean, I think you learn a lot. I don't ever really plan on working in that industry, but I think just understanding how smart money moves is so important, especially as an investor. Like, it's super important to understand how the big guys think, because in the end, they're the ones that control the markets. It's not Joe Schmo. It's not the Uber drivers that are buying crypto that are moving the market. It's these massive companies that take equity positions in these companies, and they basically control the world, these money managers. So I was working at this hedge fund, and the owner there was very impressed, and he put a good word into his friend who owns this big hedge fund in London. And so I was super happy about that. And we were meant to have a meeting right at that time, when it was just about 2 years ago. It never really went through. I'm sure he's a busy guy. What is this kid gonna do? Like, you're nothing compared to someone at that high level. I think it's a good lesson in providing value. So then it was almost 2 years later that I sent him an email. I was really confident about this crypto coin. It was BitTensor Tau. It was an AI crypto coin. And I sent this a few months ago, and it was trading at $50. And I saw this email from the Zoom invite. So I checked those emails to work that did, and I sent him this crypto coin. And within the next 2 months, it ran 12x. And I just replied, "Hope you got in," smiley face, which maybe was a bit arrogant to go to a guy like that. But then we ended up, he hit me back, and he said, "Let's have a chat, kid." We had a Zoom call. We ended up talking for a while, and we connected quite well. I think he maybe saw a bit of himself in me, I hope. I always try to put myself in a position like that, because he's infinitely smarter, richer than I am. Maybe by age aggregate, I'm ahead of him. But if you just compare the two of us now, he's at a way higher level than I am. So I'm always happy to learn from people like that. And he said at the end of the conversation, "Yeah, if you're ever in London, let me know." And I said, "Oh yeah, I'll actually be in London in 2 weeks." I was never planning on going to London. And he said, "Okay, come past the offices." So after that call, booked a flight, booked this tiny little hotel room. And I was there working at the offices in London. I think I learned so much, and we'll go into exactly what I did learn, because it's a very unique experience to be at that type of place. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I definitely learned a lot. And some crazy conversations over lunch, as well as with him and some other guys. People that are connected with the likes of Elon Musk and Zuckerberg that have massive equity positions in their companies. And one guy showed me a picture of him and Sam Altman and Zuckerberg, and it's like I was having a conversation with these people, and the things I learned are definitely super, super interesting. And we're going to, I think the first major, as soon as I walked in, I realized the retail trader doesn't stand a chance. They have a team of 15 analysts of all PhD, mass PhDs. They went to Stanford, they went to Harvard. And all of these people just researching very deep into companies. They have access to the best software, the smartest people, all researching these things. And the retail investor thinks they're going to outperform these people in the market. It's never going to happen.
By reading one book.
Yeah. They think they read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and they're like, yeah, let's go. We're going to go against Buffett and them. It's just not how it works. And I don't think most people understand how the markets actually work. Money doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's PvP. It's like everyone puts money in this big pile, and it grows, especially in crypto. It's growing. Everyone's throwing money in. But in the end, people start taking money out, and all of a sudden the power shrinks. So you want to leave it in as long as possible to get the most money out. But all of a sudden, if you wait too long, there's nothing left in the pile. So, every cent you make in a trade, someone else has lost. It's the same in crypto, same in any market. And people think the markets will go up forever. It's not like that. In Japan, you had 30 years where the stock market didn't break an all-time high. Everyone thinks just because the American market's been going up, because they've been printing so much money on a value-by-value basis, it hasn't been outpacing inflation by that much, the markets. And there's a few top companies like the Apple and the Facebook that kind of carry these indexes like the S&P 500 massively. If you look at the Dow Jones steady, when it originally started, there's only one company. Of the biggest study in America, there's only one company that's still there, and that's General Electric, and they're barely still there. So it's, companies don't last forever, and booms don't last forever, and I think America will have its downfall, and that's the second thing I learned, is that they talk very pessimistically about the West, very optimistically about Bitcoin, which I was very surprised about. I always thought the retail was early in crypto, but all these guys were ex-Goldman Sachs, and at the trading desk in 2013, they're already talking about Bitcoin. People think, you think that the Uber drivers that are buying crypto were early. It's like, no, these killers already knew about it months and months ago. They already had positions years and years before crypto ever went mainstream. So the whole feeling that institutions aren't in crypto was a big lie in my belief. And the institutions dumped on everyone in the last run, and they'll do the same now. They already have their positions, and when all of a sudden when retail starts FOMOing in, they're going to absolutely slaughter everyone like they do every time, because they're simply smarter, they have more resources. And the third thing, so I was speaking with these guys, and these guys are hundreds of millions, if not billions, and I kept waiting for the golden nugget, what are they going to say to me that it's like, it's going to click, I'm going to get to their level. Yeah. And I was waiting, I was talking, and I just realized, I'm an idiot. There is no golden nugget. Nothing these guys are going to tell me is going to all of a sudden make me want to get up early, make me want to read, make me want to work harder. It's like, there's no golden nugget. Everyone searches for that. They watch all the podcasts of me or Iman or Tate, and they go listen for hours, just waiting for them to say that one thing.
Exactly.
And it doesn't exist. In the end,
something.
You're the one that's going to have to put in the work. You're the one that's going to have to get up early. You're going to have to study. You're going to have to work. And no one's going to do it for you. So as much as I learned a lot, I learned that there's no golden nugget. Even the smartest people in the world there can't tell me anything that I already don't somewhat know. Or they might tell me something new, but it's not going to completely do like a 180 of my whole life. And all of a sudden, I'm going to find that motivation I'm lacking. And I've never really had a trouble with putting in the work. But it isn't like something they're going to tell me is all of a sudden going to 10x my net worth.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of people do believe that. And also, I was wondering if you noticed, you were around a lot of big players. You even mentioned that one of the guys just mid-dinner had to take a flight to lunch with Elon Musk or something. Yeah,
they're close with him. It's a crazy world, and London has a lot of money.
It's insane. But did you notice around all these guys that they were into routines or hacks or tricks and stuff like that? Or were they just sticking to the basics, doing it very well?
It's actually a question I try not to speak too much because I was just sitting and listening. But one of the questions I asked is do you guys have any habits you live by? And there's one habit that was common among all of them. And it wasn't your ice baths. It wasn't, some of them meditated, some of them didn't. All of them read. All of them were super, super well read. And I was super well read. So it was very nice that I could speak to them about these books they wouldn't expect a kid of my age to have read. All of them had read every book I've read. They were like, oh yeah, I love that, but I read it 3 times. So all of these guys have read a lot and they studied. They knew everything about these books. They could talk about world history, philosophy, the markets, of course, because it's their job. But they knew a lot about a lot. They're talking about, European history to the foundations of America. They could talk about everything because they knew about it all. So I think that's a massive skill to have, just having a good knowledge base to set your informations off. Because then every action you take relates to knowledge you have. So the better foundation or base you can get of knowledge, the more efficient, the better actions you'll take. If you know what the right choice is, it's much easier to take the right action. So you constantly have to be learning, and that's the one thing I'm even more bullish on now is reading. I was already reading a book a week since 12, and I think that really put me in a position to talk with them properly. I think if I didn't read a lot of those books, I would have been sitting at the table what are they talking about? Mm-hmm. But I knew a lot of it, and I think reading is so important. That's the one thing I'd recommend. Regardless, not everyone needs to go take an ice bath. I do it. Not everyone needs to go do breath work. I do it. I think a lot of that is good for training discipline, but reading does that as well as actually I think will be one of the few things that will actually make you more money in the long run.
Yeah, there are 2 main reasons on why to read. One, so you can make better decisions, and I think the second one, what you just mentioned, is that you'll be able to have conversations in those social circles of super educated people. Because that's the thing, you need small talk, and being good in conversation is something that's really important, especially in London in those circles. And then at least having some basic knowledge about European history, American history, philosophy, like you mentioned, that's a goal. Like you need to be able to do that.
Yeah.
100%. What are one of the books that you think got mentioned the most in those circles or subjects?
Yeah, I mean, they were talking a bit. I brought up the topic of Marcus Aurelius, so they talked about meditations for a while.
That's
and funny enough,
fascinating.
the gift actually, I always like to give a gift. And I got him. It was a statue of Socrates. It was like a mini statue that I gave him to put in his office.
Kind of like that
I
one.
can talk.
Amazing. Yeah, it was something exactly like that. And that was the gift I gave him because I think they talked a lot about philosophy. So I thought that would be, what do you give a guy like that has kind of everything. So I thought that was symbolic. And I also tried to push Socrates was killed because he was teaching the youth. So I kind of wanted to put him in the position where he was, mentor me, and he taught Plato. And that's actually how everything about Socrates, he didn't write anything. Plato was actually the one that published all of his teacher's works. So I kind of put it subconsciously that I could be his Plato.
You actually thought it out very well.
Yeah. So I thought that was a cool gift. And as well as I just like his teachings very much about ethics and ways of things. So meditations was very good. And for the readers at home, the book that changed my life the most was The Millionaire Fast Lane by MJ DeMarco. It's very practical. Like, meditations is good to read. It's, very deep philosophy, and it's, it'll teach you a lot about life, but it's not very practical. It's very like, very abstract thinking, and you like dive into it. Whereas The Millionaire Fast Lane literally tells you like, this is how you should think about scaling your business, like set this up properly. And then for me, I've read it like 3 or 4 times. It's definitely been my favorite book I've ever read, and that's actually done the most like practical for me. Because it's very simple, and it's a bit of a like catchy, like weirdy title, like Millionaire Fast Lane. It sounds very scammy, but he's a very genuine entrepreneur that wrote it, and I think for everyone reading at home, like you can't go wrong reading that book.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think like meditations is more of like a book that you'll need when you become a millionaire, because there are a lot of like distractions when you become one. So then having meditations in your arsenal is like one of the most powerful things. I'm interested, like what is Millionaire Fast Lane about? It's like a plan or something? Like
yeah, so it first talks of you have the slow lane, you have the sidewalk, and the fast lane. And the slow lane is basically the people that don't bother at all. That the people that, they don't work towards anything in life. Basically just the people that are just very complacent. And then you have most people on the sidewalk, which is they're going the right way, but they're just not on the right vehicle. It's the people that are, trading their time for money, they're working jobs. And then you have the fast lane, which is the people jetting past on the path to life in Ferraris, and what they do differently. So he talks about, delinking time from money, scalability, and overall it's just a very good concept, like leverage as well. Like the way he put leverage really like opened my mind massively, is that he talked about he can write one book and it can sell 1 million times and he doesn't have to put any more work into it. Whereas, say you work in a job, you finish an hour, and the next hour you're starting from zero. Like you need to go flip the patties again. We don't build onto it. It'll take him a year or 2 to write that book, but afterwards he's still selling it today, and he doesn't put in any work. So he put in a big foundation. I think this is a super nice thing to implement in my personal brand. Like I built up this cool community, and now basically just organically I get recurring income from it. So I think putting in like work upfront is the best type of business model. Software is similar. Like, you make this good software, make this app, and for the rest, you need improvement every now and then. But you've put in the hard work, and now you continuously get paid from it. Which is what you don't want is to every day if you're sick, now you're not earning any money, or if you're you can't work today, that you're not earning any money. So you want to set up systems, which I think is the most important thing, and for everyone is to set up systems for productivity, set up systems for business. And in the end, human mind's very feeble. You make mistakes. Like you want to have blockers on your phone. Like if I try to open TikTok, it won't open. Like I need to do this whole thing, and it takes me 5 minutes to even access it. So I'd actually really like, if I'm just sit in the toilet and go do that then, instead of have to open up Twitter or something that's a bit less stimulating. So you want to set up systems, because the human mind has faults. You want to eliminate that as much as possible.
Yeah.
And he was aware of that in the book. He was talking about that.
Yeah, talk about the importance of systems. And so I'll definitely recommend everyone to read that book. I think those two, like between Meditations and Millionaire Fast Lane, it's I think the best two you can start off with. And there's so many good books. I think everyone knows what to read, but I also recommend people to stay away from the super popular books. Everyone's read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it's super basic, and no one actually talks about those. It's like they become so common. Even like 48 Laws of Power, there's a lot of value in it. But if you're reading the same thing everyone else is reading, you're gonna think like everyone else, and there's no value in that. So like even same with like Ray Dalio's books. Like everyone's read The Changing World Order basically. And so now everyone thinks like China's up next, but a lot of these guys disagreed at that table. They said the West is falling, but it might not be China that day. They bet heavily on India, and they bet heavily on like more emerging markets that China has its problems, and often like these very dictator rulerships they work well for a while, but they reach like a max capacity where eventually someone bad takes charge and they can ruin things. If a bad leader takes charge in the West, which I think we have one in plenty of countries, you can't really bring it down as easy because it's not like just him that makes decisions. You have parliament and you have a bunch of people, the cogs in the machine, which makes it slow. In Dubai, which now they have, in my opinion, a very good ruler there. So he can just say, okay, I'll put up a building there. And then if you try to do the same thing in Holland, it's like, no, it's a heritage site. We can't do that. Whereas instantly in one day, you're like, okay, we need a highway from here to here. In Europe, you can't, oh, there's that species of frogs that live there. We can't get rid of that swamp. Whereas it's like in China, it's a boom, highway. 2 weeks later, you got a full-fledged info system, which works well to scale. But all of a sudden, if the wrong person starts being able to crack all the decisions out, it doesn't work. I think the best example of a leader like that is in Singapore, that he was one of the smartest, best leaders, and they gained independence the same time South Africa did. And Singapore is tiny compared to South Africa, don't have as much resources, in a very competitive region, and they built out one of the richest, most prosperous countries, one man at the helm, and he was literally ruthless. I mean, all the pilots were staking for Singapore Airlines, and literally said, fire them all. If they don't want to fly, fire them all. And like, so you can't do that in America or in England or in Europe, but he was cutthroat and he was very respected. I think between all the the world leaders, he was arguably one of the smartest. He was the perfect example of what a dictatorship can be done right. He was super humble. I mean, the real estate in Singapore is now built out and it's one of the most expensive in the world. There's no poverty. Everyone gets free healthcare, all those type of things. It's very well built out, free education. But it was what the West would call a dictatorship. It was him making the decisions. If you didn't like it, then but he was super educated and it worked out very, very well. Where say a country like South Africa that gained independence at the same time is democratic. We vote for our president, and in that you have a lot more corruption, which people think democracy, there's no corruption, and with one person leader, there's a bunch of corruption. It completely depends on the leader. If you have like one smart person at the helm, it can be more efficient. But there's a lot of danger in that as well, because all of a sudden you have a psycho on the nuke button, and then it doesn't work out well.
Yeah, kind of like Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. Yes, that's a perfect example. I mean, look at the difference in GDP. I mean, the very important thing what these guys talked about is ownership rights. The poorest countries are the countries without ownership rights. You need ownership rights. And Singapore had that. But look at the difference between North Korea and South Korea. The average South Korean is 22 times richer. An average of a property is 5% appreciation. So if you invert that, basically 20x the difference between the richness of South Korea and North Korea, and you can compare it to a bunch of different countries throughout history, that 20x is quite, like, property is the 5% rule, and the 20x difference is exactly that. So these people that, they don't own their homes in North Korea, they can't appreciate, like with land, they don't own anything basically. Even the shoes they have, it's not technically theirs. Someone else could go and borrow it if they wanted to, because it's very heavy communism. You don't really own anything. And it was exact same 20% between the West and the East of Berlin. The East of Berlin was 20 times poorer than the West, because in the West you could own things and things appreciate. So if you don't have ownership rights, it's a massive, massive problem. So the countries that do the best have good ownership rights. Like say America was completely built on that. You own your home, you own your things, they get appreciated, you get to buy equities in companies. And I mean, the first company that did equities was a Dutch company, the Oost Indies, yeah. And you could buy stock in ships. Yeah. And that's why Holland was originally so rich, is because they had ownership. But its prosperity is then shared. You don't just have the people, one guy owns the factory, you have, say, your Rockefeller or whatever, that own the railroads, they own the factory, you have Carnegie that owns all the steel. Once you have more people owning things, the prosperity of a country is much bigger and much wider spread. So ownership rights are super important, and the countries that have that well established do the best.
Would you say because more people are profiting, so people are more motivated to work?
Definitely. I mean, incentives and are super important with motivation. I mean, even in all my companies, I always try to give incentive. I'd rather give 5 or 10% of sales or give them equity positions than I would paying them hourly, because then they have a foot in the game. I have plenty of guys where I would have them in my agencies and I would just have them an hourly rate just like that. And there's no fire in them. Whereas if I give them a 5% piece of the pie, they want the pie to grow as much as I do. Mm-hmm. So even it might cost me way more than, giving them 5% in the end might have been a dumb decision, but it wouldn't have grown as much if they didn't work that hard. So if they want things to work out as much as I do, I know the advice they give me is genuine. If I pay them an hourly rate, they don't really care. It's like they might just throw something off the top of their head. But if they have a position in the pie, they're going to give me the best advice that they can. Because, their foot's in the door. They don't want to get burned. If the company goes to shit, so does it for them. And if things go well, they win and I win. So I always try to give
Exactly.
incentives with that. And even with editors, like I'll go view things. So the more views the video gets, the more you get paid.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
So they're gonna
Yeah.
try.
That's something we should
yeah.
use too. Yeah.
They're gonna try to get the incentives right, because if the video does terrible, it's like, you know, they had a part to play in that. So and if things go well, I would make money off that, and I'm happy to share that then with them. Like I always reward for good work. So I think commission, like if you're gonna get a job, a commission job is super good, because you have no earning limit. Like if you're flipping patties, you can only do so much. Whereas if you're doing door-to-door sales and you get really good, you could start earning like more than most entrepreneurs would. Like if you have a good sales position, some type of high-ticket sales, I know plenty of guys that aren't entrepreneurs, but they're just super good sales guy, and they can bring in like $20,000 a month. And it's way more stable than it is with being an entrepreneur.
You can sell for any product or
Yeah, exactly.
anything,
It's
yeah.
the most important. Like no business works without sales. A lot of people say, don't focus on sales in the beginning, focus on someone else. It doesn't work. You need sales. You need clients. It's like the backbone of any business is sales.
Definitely,
And
yeah.
I think entrepreneurship is the most overhyped thing in the world. Like especially recently, it's been overglorified massively. I mean, there's a lot of things you have to sacrifice for it. Like, I mean, I've been basically in this game now for 5 years. I missed most of my childhood because I was busy working. I mean, since 12, I've been busy with businesses. I didn't get the same childhood most people do because I've had crazy amount of stress. I mean, you have 7 figures in crypto, you wake up and it's all of a sudden you're down 100K. Like that's normal. And there's times where your business goes down. You have those type of things. It becomes very difficult, but I wouldn't change it for the world. But it's overhyped. Not everyone is built for it. I mean, incredible amount of stress, no free time. There's days where you want to go out with your friends, you want to do something. It's like, shit, I got a meeting then, different time zones. I got to call this guy in Australia. Like it just doesn't work like as easy as people think. And not everyone can do it, like economically, but also like physically. Like most people can't sit down and work for 9-10 hours straight. They have to go on their phone for a little bit, scroll TikTok. Work-life balance. I need to go out now. I need to have a good time. Like not everyone is built for it, and it should be that way. And there's a lot of like shitting on 9 to 5 now, which is completely stupid. Like a lot of those people are the most honest, good-hearted, like working people, school teachers, cleaners, whoever it is. Just because they're not rocking around the Lambo and they're not flexing their P&Ls on Insta doesn't mean like, you know, I think it's overhyped a lot. And I know I'm definitely part of the problem. I think Eva and me, Luke, Tate, all these guys make people feel like you need to be an entrepreneur. Like you've seen all the drop shippers out in Dubai. And when you see that and you're seeing this 23-year-old now in Dubai and you're like, you know, some 23-year-old working in a delivery truck, you're like, dude, what has gone wrong with my life? But you need to understand there's massive survivorship bias. For every E-man there is, there's 1,000 people that didn't make it. For every me that there is, there's a bunch of people that didn't make it. And there's a massive element of luck, undeniably. I got super lucky with certain things. I could have done the same things and it not worked out. But all you can do is increase your odds. You know, undeniably I got lucky. And there's guys that got even luckier than me that are at 17 worth tens of millions. And I know them. Like, I didn't know these things were real. But as I come up and I get in contact with these people, crazy software kids, crypto kids, Solana devs that have made crazy amount of money, even younger than me. And undeniably, I think those kids got lucky. But it's a bad thing to think, because then I think if you say someone got lucky, a lot of people, I go in the comment section, it always like cringes me. They'll see some type of guy that's, you know, done well, and they'll be like, oh, lucky or scam or whatever it is.
You're
and you
taken
put in
away.
that mindset, if you tell them they're lucky, you basically say that it wasn't, you know, up to them that they got there. But that also means that it's not your position to get there either. If you think they got lucky, it wasn't in their control to get there. You say they got lucky, yeah, it wasn't in their control. But then you also think, I'm on control if I were to get there. That, you know, I might float there, might by luck win the lotto. But if you think like, damn, he worked hard to get there, you think, I can also work hard to get there. So if you describe other people's luck as success, then eventually you'll think for you to get lucky, that's all you can do. You get lucky to get successful.
It's kind of to, you know, for the people who want to talk it good for themselves, or, you know, they don't really believe they can achieve anything. You just tell other people they were lucky, so you feel better about yourself. I think, yeah, definitely.
I'm incredibly arrogant. I always knew from young. I always said, no, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. I'm gonna do this. I want to be worth this much by this age, and I've done a lot of it. And I'm extremely arrogant. I mean, even my username, Maurits_Neo. I chose Neo because he was the chosen one. So I was extremely arrogant, undeniably. But it also gives me a fight to prove it, especially now that I'm like on social and I've got a decent following. I can't now go ahead and fail. I can't just go sleep in every day. I can't just do nothing in business. Because now, not only, you know, if you're by yourself, only you would know. You can sleep in, you know, only you would know. But now, you know, I feel like I've got people watching me, that now I can't fail. Now I'm even more motivated to succeed. And, you know, I was in Cape Town when I'm super locked in. I set my alarm for like 4:30. I had a test that day. I didn't sleep much the night before. And you wake up and I'm just like, the only thing that kind of gets you out of there is like I've said I'm going to do it. I actually need to prove it now. Like I've said I'm this guy. I'll go on podcasts and talk to you guys about this is what I do. And I've, you know, done this at this age. I can't just stop now. I want to be able to say I've made this much by 18. I want to say I've done this much by 20. So it kind of keeps me going that I'm held accountable now for more than just myself. And that's why I recommend people to share their goals with friends. And especially if they're real friends. If my friends tell me, okay, I'm going to do this, I want to get a six pack, whatever, and I see me in a donut, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, like you told me you wanted to get a six pack, and now you're sitting there with a donut. Like, you keep yourself accountable to other people. And social media is a good way to do it, because now I'm accountable to a bunch of people that want to see me lose. And there's a bunch of people that want to see me win as well. And either way, I'm motivated, and I like that. I like that people are, it's bigger than just me now. Like, I've said to people, and people look up to me. I can't now just not go do things. Like, then I feel like a fraud, and then you get that massive imposter syndrome. So I think you need to live up to what you say then.
With accountability, yeah.
Completely.
Because speaking of accountability, you were doing like a challenge on Instagram Reels, right? Like day 1, day 2, day 3. What was the goal again? Like
$100,000 a month.
Okay.
And well, yeah, with crypto, I mean, I might have hit it this month with crypto, but it's very hard because then you don't sell, and then it's like illiquid. So I want to do the 100K in my community. And I'm always transparent. Like, I've got 237 members, so I'm like $23,000 like pure profit a month, like from the community. I still got the agency as well. It's also like over 20K a month. So like in terms of business, I'm doing well. If you count crypto, I mean, the last couple of months have been crazy, and I've got a really big crypto portfolio, and that's actually what's been earning me the most money. Like the last 3 months, completely loses me the most money as well when the market goes down. Like, I don't only win
because you're not trading. You're not.
I'm not. Yeah, I do some swing trades like with a bit of leverage. But I mainly just buy and hold like solid projects. I'm not out here to join all the lines on the charts. Like, a lot of day trading is a complete scam. Like, being in the industry and you're seeing it. Like, I don't day trade. People think I day trade, which is like the most asked question I get. And I want to tell everyone, if you have like $100 to get started, don't go trade Bitcoin. Like, what are you doing? Like, start some type of service-based agency and build up some cash flow. And once you have that, I use crypto as a multiplier. I'm not a day trader. I don't do Forex. I don't sit there and do 120x leverage on Bitcoin to try to turn my $100 into 100K with 2 trades. You're going to instantly blow your account. So I recommend, if you have a bit of money, invest in yourself. Either, you can learn anything online. Also, just, go buy some books or join some type of community that you think has value. I think that's a way better spend of $100 than it is to go instantly blow it on some Forex trade. And a lot of Forex traders, especially Forex, like crypto does it as well. But Forex, it's like one big scam, basically. Well, there are some people making money, but bots are the people making money. I mean, with foreign exchange, and you think you're competing against like central banks, you're competing against massive companies that are like genuinely trying to get the best price entries. Because Forex is trading against currencies. And you have central banks that need to turn their yens into dollars or the dollars into yens. And those people understand way better what's happening, just like definitely. Those hedge funds do. Yeah. So sitting there and drawing the lines, and most of those people that teach you like their signals or teach you how to draw lines. If you could draw 3 lines and know where the trade's going, you'd be a billionaire. You think Ray Dalio or Warren Buffett is sitting there, the SPY index, the Fibonacci retracement. Like, they aren't doing that. Like, and there's a reason for it. Yeah, there's some good technical analysis. Like, this is the basics to it. But no one is drawing 3 lines and having like an 80% win rate. Most Forex traders, like the genuine ones, have like a 60% win rate, which is still bad. Like, you can go to the casino and have a similar win rate. I mean, 80% of traders lose. So I would really recommend everyone, like, you can trade and you can be profitable with it, but most people aren't. Most of them make the money from selling you their signals, and signals by definition also don't work because you get front run. If you see the signal in a signal group with 10,000 other people, as soon as the buy signal is gone, like people buy in. I mean, and people have bots set up and things like that. So you basically get front run, then you buy the top and it instantly gets corrected. So the whole market is very shady with day trading. And I've never been a day trader. Like, I'll play around with it. Like, I know the basics. And I know some people that do make good money day trading, but it's just never been for me. I don't have hours to spend looking at charts. I'd rather think really smartly about a few investments, take them, watch them play out for 2-3 months, and take my profits. I don't need a hold for 40 years. Yeah. I'll buy in when I think the market's low. I'll buy in on narratives a lot. Like, the AI narrative in crypto has made me a crazy amount of money because I was using ChatGPT a while ago, and I was like, no, this is crazy. Like, just when it launched, I was like, okay, this is going to play out in the stock market. And we did. We saw Nvidia. I bought a bunch of Nvidia, and that played out really nicely. But I was like, crypto's the next place. It always trickles down. So then you had a massive AI crypto narrative. And the coin I recommended to the billionaire was like when I kind of realized like this AI narrative is about to go crazy. And a lot of those coins did like over 30, 40 X's in that industry. So I think like when you see something play out in the real world, a couple weeks later, it plays out in the crypto markets. Like, I think that's always a safe bet to make because people just get more and more hungry for speculation. They've seen Nvidia go to $1 trillion market cap, blow past it, and they feel like they're late, so they're going to go invest in some other AI project.
Because those coins you're talking about that did 30 to 40x, like how did you know? Like via ChatGPT?
No,
I'm trying to make sense of it.
No, so I used ChatGPT a while ago, and I thought AI is crazy. This was like, what is it, November 2022, November 2021 around?
Yeah, because last time you were here, at least we two didn't know about ChatGPT, I think. Pretty sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know when it was, but right when ChatGPT released, I was like, bro, this is crazy. Like writing my essay for schoolwork, the tech in this is insane. So I wanted equity in it. You can't buy OpenAI. I mean, Microsoft owns it, but it's like 0.01% of Microsoft's balance sheet. So if you're buying into Microsoft, you're not buying into AI, you're buying into computers, you're buying into software.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of AI exposure as well. But, you know, majority, such a big, like worth 2 trillion already that you're not going to get direct AI exposure. And crypto, a lot of the stocks, there's no AI stocks. Like Nvidia, it's a chip maker. They're not really AI based. Now they are super AI focused because everyone needs the power behind it. They sell the infrastructure behind it. If Google or Apple want to create their own AI, they need a bunch of this hardware. And that's what Nvidia sells. So they play off the AI narrative well. But I don't know. You're going to type into ChatGPT what cryptos to buy. It'll be rubbish. No, so that's kind of when I figured out that AI was going to be a big narrative. And to research coins, it's a very complicated process. I first off care about the narrative. Like, what does the coin do? Most people in crypto don't understand that every coin does something else. Bitcoin is super different to Ethereum. Ethereum is super different to Solana. It's like investing in companies. People just think crypto, blockchain is all the same thing. They can't tell you what blockchain is, but they'll throw their last $100 in it. So it's like investing in a company. Everything does something different. So you have a bunch of layer ones like Solana, Ethereum, Avalanche. All these are layer ones, and you have layer twos built on that. And my best trade ever was Polygon Matic, a layer 2 in Ethereum, and that made me very, very, very a lot amount of money. I got in very early. It played out super well in the last bull run, and that kind of was like the first taste I had of I say proper money when that played out. But for these AI coins recently, I had a lot more capital, so I didn't hit like the 100, 200 X's like I did on Polygon, but I had a lot more money to play with it. So it was also very good trades. So how you find a good team is first find the narrative. So I believe massively in crypto gaming and crypto AI. I think those are going to be the best, like by far, because
what do you mean with crypto AI?
So crypto AI. So there's these companies, these 8 crypto coins, and they're AI powered. So you have a coin like say Render, which is one of the most popular ones. They do decentralized computing basically. So basically you can earn Render coin by putting your computer basically on the cloud. So people can rent your computer's power. So instead of having say you have to buy 10,000 computers, now all of a sudden I can rent your computer, although it's not as strong. I can rent 1 million computers, pay you in Render coins, and I get to use some of the power of your computer to train my AI model or to run my software, whatever it is.
It's also what they did with mining Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, so it's similar to in the concept of mining Bitcoin, that you have a bunch of these different companies using their computer power to solve equations for Bitcoin.
Exactly.
In this sense, you have a bunch of different AI coins. Some people are creating like a decentralized ChatGPT. But so every crypto coin does something different. It's like a company. So I invested in the companies that were very AI focused. Tau is one of my favorites. That's the one I recommended. And that did super well. Now it's one of the biggest players in there. And it's got, so you first look at the narrative, then you look at the tokenomics. So say we'll go with Tau. It has exact same tokenomics as Bitcoin. So it's 21 million max. There's already like a couple million mined. So Bitcoin is out of all the coins, Bitcoin has the best tokenomics because it's variably scarce. There's not going to be any more. Massive amounts already in supply. Massive amounts have been lost. There's only 21 million Bitcoin, but like 1.5, 2 million Bitcoin have been lost. People on old ledgers from 2011 have thrown them away, confiscated by the CIA ledgers that will never get access to. So there's a bunch of Bitcoin. So realistically, there's like a 90 million supply. And there's a massive amount already mined. And the next halving is coming up in 4 weeks. So it's going to be even more scarce. And historically, that has triggered the bull run. Not necessarily because of it becoming more scarce, but I think because everyone thinks it's going to trigger a bull run now, that it will trigger a bull run.
But
it also,
prophecy.
the Bitcoin halving becomes less and less important every year because the decrease from say 32 blocks per Bitcoin or Bitcoin per block to 16. Now all the same as 16 gap. But now the next one you have 8. It's only an 8 difference. And now I believe we're going from 4 to 2 or something like that. So it's a very smaller gap. Like going from 32 to 16 Bitcoin per block is much more like of a big difference than it is now. And in that stage, you have like say still lots to be mined. Now already you have like 90% of the supply of Bitcoin or 80% of the supply of Bitcoin has already been mined. So that only it's affecting the last 20% because the other Bitcoins have already been mined.
Is this the last change? Or
No, it'll keep going for a while. I mean, it's predicted that all the Bitcoins will be mined by like 2070, but everyone has a different estimate. But I think you'll have quantum computing by the time that happens. And quantum computing is definitely a fear of mine with Bitcoin. Although there are solutions to it, quantum computers are so powerful that they can solve the blockchain, basically. They can solve all the equations in the block and basically take over of it. And we're still a while away from that, and I don't think it's like an immediate fear. But people are, these companies are investing a lot into quantum computing, and it's very valuable if you can hack the ecosystem of Bitcoin. But it'd be too expensive to do now. Like, it's impossible to do. And if you do hack it, Bitcoin can fragment and like split off. So in the end, like, you might just hack something that's worth nothing.
Exactly.
So there's not massive incentive, and it'll cost you billions to do it. Today it would cost hundreds of billions to do. I don't think it's even like affordable today. But as computing power becomes cheaper, it'll become cheaper to attack it. But I still don't think it's possible anytime soon. But going back to finding coins, get the narrative, look at the tokenomics. So how many, like Shiba Inu, people think will go to $1. Shiba Inu is never going to $1. It has a max supply of like 100 trillion or even more than that. For it to be worth $1, the market cap would be greater than like the whole world economy. It'd be worth more than Bitcoin, gold, all of real estate combined. Like, it's not going to $1. It looks cheap. People think it's cheap. Shiba Inu is one of the most expensive projects. It's worth like over $10 billion. So even though it says 0.0001, people think if this goes to $1, my $100 is going to be worth $20,000. It's not happening. It's already like worth tens of billions. People need to understand the concept of market cap, which is basically the circulating supply times the price. So if you have the simple concept, say you have 10 shares and they're worth 100 each, you have a market cap of 1,000 because you have your 10 shares, 100 each, it's 1,000. And all of a sudden, now if you have, say, 1 million shares and there's 0.1, it's like it seems cheap, but the market cap might be even higher than it is for the $100 shares. So you need to look at the market cap. It's basically what it's worth. So Bitcoin has the highest market cap, and then it's Ethereum. And I try to stay away from anything really in the top 10 because I've got a big risk appetite, and I'm used to waking up, losing a bunch of money, making a bunch of money. So if you want to play it safe, I wouldn't buy anything outside the top 10. If you want to make anything like from 20 to 50x, you want to buy outside the top 10. Bitcoin's not going to $1 million this cycle. People buy $100 in Bitcoin and think they're going to be rich. Like, I think Bitcoin will do well, but even if it does crazy well and it gets to like 120K, it'll double from the price today. Like, $100, $200, you made $100. Like, that's not crazy. Whereas in lower coins, when Bitcoin doubles, those lower coins go to a crazy multiple. If Bitcoin can double, those other coins can run 50, 100, 200 X's in the same time. Because people first put their money in Bitcoin, it trickles down, they see rewards, and they're like, okay, this is going up. Like, they get more and more hungry for risk, and they're willing to put more money into it. So then they buy ETH, and ETH runs, and they kind of trickle down all the way until you get the super degenerate coins, which you saw at the end of last cycle. And it's already happening now. That you go into like the Safe Moon and Elon Balls and MILF Coin and all these random
degenerate coins.
Yeah, the super degenerate meme coins. And these coins do like 1,000Xs, but the tokenomics are terrible and there's no real incentive behind it. So I try to invest in actual projects. I think AI will do really well, and crypto gaming. Like, I think the future gaming is definitely in crypto, being able to, going back to ownership rights, to own your coin. If I worked super hard, Fortnite unlocked the skin or whatever, I own it. Like, I can sell it. It's like actually mine. It's not like something that you can just sell off. It's like, say, owning your movie. Say you buy a movie from Apple TV. You don't actually own the movie. You can basically use it for a bit. But if you buy it, you can also sell it. You can rent it out, and you actually, like, NFTs are basically a use case of this, that you own it. So say you play World of Warcraft, and people used to play it for hundreds of hours to unlock these new abilities and unlock these characters with better weapons, but you can't do anything with it. But then you can be able to sell it. You can actually own it, and it's like a limited amount. So now all of a sudden everyone can have this CS:GO skin. But you can see on the blockchain there's only 100, and I own one of them. So it's variably scarce, and they can't just all of a sudden issue 100 new skins, because people have that in Fortnite. You buy $2,000 to buy this rare account, and all of a sudden they put the Renegade Raider back in the store. Now it's not worth anything anymore. Whereas in NFT, then you own it. They can't make any more of it, and then it's actually worth something. So you saw it like in third world countries, like you had Axie Infinity, which is a game, crypto gaming, one of the first popular games, and people in the Philippines were playing, and they were making like $15 a day, and for them that was crazy. I mean, the whole village. There's this one village, they got crazy rich, and they made it like they had to change the tax codes because people were making crazy amount of money from Axie Infinity in the Philippines. It was crazy. And these people were like making a bunch of money. They would buy these NFTs, you would level them up, and they would sell them to people in the States. And they would buy that, and they would try to earn from it. But to them, that's crazy amount of money. So I think play to earn and being able to actually owning your thing is going to be a massive narrative. And I think gaming is definitely moving that way. But AI is, as well as in the traditional markets, I think crypto AI is going to be going a crazy run. It's doing quite well. But the entire market cap of crypto AI is like 30 billion right now, which is tiny. Dogecoin has a market cap the same as that. So the entire market of crypto AI is worth less than one meme coin. So, and it's even smaller than that because a bunch of AI projects aren't really AI projects. So maybe like 15 billion of actual value. That's the size of Shiba Inu. The entire, all the coins together are worth less than the meme coins are. So I think there's still space to run in that. It has done well already, and it's played out very well for me. But yeah, think smart about something. Look at the team. It's the next thing you should look at in a project. The founder, I want a founder that's gone to Stanford. I want a founder that's worked at JP Morgan. I want a founder that's on it. I don't want some fat geek that doesn't know what he's doing running the project. Like, bro, he's going to dump his bags as soon as he sees his coins are worth 2 million. He's like, done.
Are there a lot of those?
Yeah, did
So
Sam
many.
Altman actually go to university?
I don't know. Sam, I never liked the guy. He lost me so much money.
Me
That
too.
was one of the toughest like moments for me. I lost crazy. I was like 6 figures at like 14, 15 that I made up in crypto. Gone. I got it back actually because BlockFi got bought out. I was never with FTX. I didn't like the guy. I don't want a fat guy managing my money. It's bad to say, but I want a super disciplined guy. I want a guy like the owner of Telegram. Wakes up 4 a.m. shredded, six pack. Doesn't even take caffeine. He's hardcore, full carnivore. Like,
But Elon Musk is quite fat.
yeah, but he is. But he's still. I mean, look, that guy works like a dog. I'd rather have
Yeah.
something like that. I don't want. I mean, Warren Buffett's also fat. I'd like him managing my money, but I don't want an undisciplined guy that's
Yeah.
having orgies in the Bahamas managing my money. That's what Sam Bankman was doing. He was fucking his coworkers in the Bahamas. Like, I don't want that, man. I want the guy that lives like me. I want the guy waking up, ice bath, shower, meditate, go work like really hard. That's the guy I want behind the project. I don't want the guy eating McDonald's as lazy, the Solana dev that can't do anything. Like, I want the guy that's on it managing my money. That's why I never liked FTX. His whole thing was, I want to make money to give back. Dude, I was like straight away, like no one's doing that, man. He claims he wants to be rich so he can manage the money for other people and he'll grow it to give it back. And in the end, he was bribing politicians. He was Biden's biggest donor. FTX was massive for the Democrats, and he was donating a bunch of party, buying himself power. So everyone that says they don't want power, they're lying, man. I think everyone wants it. Everyone has to have influence. And the same for me. Like, there's only so much cool materialistic stuff, and I'm at the level where I can just go buy Ferraris and go buy everything. I'm not there yet. I know I will be eventually, but that gets very boring very quickly. Then you want influence. All these top billionaires, doesn't matter. They can double their net worth after say 100 mil, even after 50 mil. There's nothing you can't buy besides planes and jets. But what they're after then is power. And I don't blame them. If you're running a company, you want to be able to choose what's happening. And I would do the same. I mean, you see that George Soros interview and he talks with this guy. And he's like, he calls the average people peasants and he feels like he's a god. So he feels like he deserves control. He's worked so much harder. He's so much smarter. So he wants to put his influence on the world. And although he's very cynical and he's a bit of a crazy guy, George Soros, but I can't understand what he's saying, that he feels like I'm so much smarter than these people. He feels that way, that it's best to have me have the power. Let me influence the world in my shape. Like, he wants to shape the world in his image. And although it's probably not the right image,
No, definitely not.
he has that power to do so. And he feels it's right. He thinks, I'm smart. The world should be shaped this way. And he's going to do what he can to do that. Because that lasts longer than the Ferrari breaks down, the Ferrari goes down. But if you can shape the world in your image, like a lot of these older families have done for generations, that lasts. And that's a lot more meaningful to people to be able to shape the world. And they might think it's for good. Like in my company, I want things to go the way I want to. And, I'm the one with control there. And although I always listen to other people's input, some of these people won't. That, if someone's not doing it, they're doing things completely wrong, all of a sudden, they're not doing how I would like it. Like, I'm going to try to get rid of them. I don't want them, like, this is my company. I'm going to shape it how I want. And that's how they feel about the world. That, this is like, my country or my company or even, my world, that they have so much power that they're going to influence in their way. So if this politician or this internet guy in Romania is speaking out against them, they're going to be like, no, wait, what? Why are you talking against what we want? So, of course, they're going to, do their things to influence the way they would want it to be.
I'd like to bring it back to where we were talking about in the beginning about the hedge fund CEO and all the. I mean, you were shadowing him. You met a lot of successful people there, and they also gave you advice about studying and education, right?
Yeah.
So apart from just the normal books and stuff, you were looking to go to university, maybe to college. You were talking about that last podcast. What did they advise you about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a big dilemma in my life now because I'm in an interesting position compared to most people in the fact that I have a business and I have a good amount of capital at my age. But I take education very seriously. I do very well in school. So now the big question for me is, do I want to go to uni? Why should I go? Why should I not go? And, it's quite difficult. Now that I'm earning like a good amount of money to have to sit down and go to a study for 3 years after I've just been in school. And at the same time, I'm basically valedictorian. I'm like one of the top students. I have perfect grades and everyone says it's a waste if you don't go uni. My parents want me to go uni. My teachers want me to go uni. But I think I'm sold on going, and not for the reason most people think. I don't think I'll learn anything extremely valuable in the class. I think even if I go to a top school, say Harvard or Stanford. I don't think there's anything in the curriculum that is going to teach me a crazy amount. I don't think that professor is going to give me any revelation that I haven't maybe learned already in my class or read between the hundreds of books I've read, that they can learn anything without it. I think it's the verification badge next to your name. I think if Zuckerberg went to go raise money and he went to Okaya Capital, which is the fund that basically gave Meta or Facebook what it is now. They gave them all the advice, all the money they needed. If he went there and he was just Zuckerberg, no one would take him seriously. But he was Zuckerberg from Harvard. So all of a sudden, they take him more seriously. And in those top rooms, curriculum, you be super good at sport, you have the business, or you need to have a charity, and you have something super impressive to get in. And that's why it's so valuable. You're around a bunch of other high level people, and it's hard to recreate that. I was thinking, like, why should I go, and can I recreate without it? The learning, I can recreate without university, and anyone can. Between books, podcasts, you can listen to the smartest people in the world talk about business. You can learn anything without a degree. The one thing you get is a piece of paper at the end, which is not why I'm doing it at all. Like, I don't think I'll ever need to be put in a position where I have to work like a full 9 to 5. And like I did this week, I worked a 9 to 5 for a week, learning as much. I didn't pay for it. I didn't get paid at all. I actually paid to work. So not only was I clocking 12-hour shifts, I earned zero and actually spent a couple thousand on flights, hotels, food. So I actually paid money to work, which most people would never do. But I was sitting there in the office and I was happy to do it. I would have spent 3 times as much to work for these people, because I learned a lot for it. And especially when you learn early, like I'm 17 now, I can implement that for the next 60, 70 years what I learned. So the earlier you learn, the more time you have to implement and the easier it is to learn. So I would have paid even more to go work for this. So most people aren't willing to work for free, which, fair enough. But I have like editors and I want to, can you like make me one clip so I can see how good you are? And like, no, I don't work for free. And it's like, sometimes you need to be able to bend the knee a bit to take an opportunity. And I certainly did. I spent a whole week. Couldn't work on my business very much. I wasn't earning as much as I usually would, but I'll do it 100 times over, pay to work for these smart guys to learn from them. So I think most people aren't willing to do that at all. And you need to be able to bend the knees sometimes and be able to put in some work without an immediate reward. Most people aren't willing to go long term. And same with the uni. You're not going to make any money directly during your study. But once you have that piece of paper, you can earn more money. But I think I'll never have to be in a position where, hopefully, everything might go bad and I wouldn't mind. Like, I'd love to maybe be working at Goldman Sachs or like a company like that, and maybe I could. But I hope I won't have to, and I think I've set up my cards from the right age that I probably won't have to. So I don't think I'll ever use a piece of paper, but I think the people I'll meet, I'll be surrounded by winners, a bunch of the smartest people from all around the world, smartest kids from Singapore, from China, from America, from France. All of them go to these top 10 schools, basically. So you have a massive filter of all the world's top talent, from kids from South Africa, from Northern Africa, from Chile. All of the smartest people from the top schools there all end up at those top 10 schools. So you're kind of in a boiling pot of very competitive people. And I think people just take you a lot more seriously. And it'd be a cool story to say I dropped out of Harvard.
Yeah, the third year, the fourth year. Like, what is is it also like kind of like a network thingy? So like you just mentioned?
It's very hard to recreate that. Like, around in Cape Town, all of a sudden it's become very popular with the internet money types. And growing up there, like I've seen it changing. All of a sudden you have a lot more foreigners coming out with money. A lot of young guys from Holland, from Germany, from America, from Norway. All these guys that are doing well, they want to get out of the super expensive place with the bad weather. So you can recreate the network, but not to that level. I mean, I surround myself with winners. Like my best friends are doing crazy things themselves. And everyone I talk to are people that are doing super, super well. But you can't get to that level where in a class with thousands of people, they're all super smart. A lot of them are just geeky smart. But you have other people that are crazy busy with entrepreneurship. You have a bunch of people like that are doing the top things. And if you just, like everything, I like to look at the numbers. 88% of millionaires, or 80% of people with the high degree became millionaires. So you have a very, very high degree. And look at all the best billionaires, the richest people in the world. Zuckerberg, Musk, Elon, these guys went to top schools. Virtually all billionaires went to universities, and majority of millionaires did too. And you can see the earning discrepancy. I think it's super overhated. I think Tate and Belmont, Iman have sold this illusion that school's a scam. That all of a sudden, the university's a scam, but buy my program instead. I sell a community product, but I'll say I can't compete with Harvard. These guys claim like, you don't go into Hustlers University and Harvard University aren't the same thing. That you're not going to get the same level of teaching or acumen from it. So I think a lot of them shit on the product, but they sell the competition to that product. So it's like, no, as a young guy, you don't need to go. You're going to go uni. You'll learn plenty. Just buy my program instead. So I think a lot of them are super biased with them. They've influenced the youth massively. And it's part of the reason I didn't want to go uni is because all these guys I looked up to were like, don't go uni, it's a scam, whatever. I was like, they're right, it's a scam. But if you just look at the numbers, it still stands true that, the smartest people go there, the richest people come from there, especially those top schools. If you have the opportunity to, you definitely should. So I think uni is a valuable decision, and I think I am going that path. If I scale my business crazy amount, I still have a year and a half before I'd go. I think if I'm earning like $300,000, $400,000 a month, then it doesn't make sense anymore because it's just like too much time to take away. But even if I'm earning a good amount, like if I'm earning 6 figures, then I think still like for the rest of my life, you'll be valuable like to have that. And your whole life you can earn money. Everyone rushes it. Everyone just because they see me or they see Eman or they see some people doing crazy things really young, it kind of distorts their perspective. But it's not normal at all, and you have massive survivorship bias, like I talked about earlier.
Exactly, yeah.
But you only have basically those 4 or 5 years to study. From 18 to 21, 22, 23, it's the only time you can study. You have the whole rest of your life to make money. So that time, I think, is a cool experience. Not only will you have some fun, I think you'll meet some cool people. A lot of people meet their wife or their husband or their best friends or, business partners at uni. So I think it's overhated massively. This whole red pill and the whole self-education movement is super important. You can learn everything from the internet and books, but university isn't only about that. So I think it's massively overhated, and the people that talk super badly about uni are the ones that sell a product that competes with it. So it's like talking bad about competition. And I don't think the board of Pepsi likes Coke, even though they're owned by the same company. So maybe not.
Because that's what I was about to ask you. Are you like scared of maybe that university will have a bad impact on the businesses you're running now? Because Harvard will take a lot of time.
It does, yeah. No, even getting into those schools, there's no guarantee I would ever even get in. It's very tough. I do have perfect grades, and I think I have a good enough CV from business and from things outside, and even interning at these type of companies would definitely help. But it's tough to get in. So even if I do get in, and it would take up time, but no, I've set up systems in place that it's a lot of time up front, but then not so much after. Even with the agency model, it isn't really like that. So that's kind of why I stepped away, because it's constant work for it. But if you find contractors and you do it well, it'd be less time. But things like the info product, it doesn't take a crazy amount day to day like to work. And same with content. Like once you built up an audience, it's quite easy. You can outsource a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing I learned from those guys. They outsource everything. They have assistant to make the bookings. They have everything. All they need to do is their one job, and that's to think about the markets. So all the mundane things, the same as the Zuckerberg types, they wear the same thing every day. Like they want as little decisions as possible. Like you never talk to them. You talk to their assistant. They put in their calendar. So they just check their phone and like, 8:15, I've got this to do. Okay, I've got lunch with this guy. And they constantly things are planned out for them. And it's much easier that way. And in the beginning, I have plenty of time. And I was doing it only recently have I started outsourcing, because I always felt I like being in control. I like doing things myself. But eventually you're going to have to outsource, and you have to put people in place. Like, okay, get this calendar, sort things out for me, and you do what you do best. Because all of a sudden, if you're getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars to make decisions in the markets, we want to optimize that as much as possible. And even if it just takes 5% to go make your own calendar, see what you do, or have to think about what you want to wear that day, that 5% is worth $5 million. So you don't want to make those little decisions, and you want to focus on what you're good at. And most people in the beginning have to be super general. When I started my business, I have to be able to make the website, I have to be able to do the ads, I have to be able to talk with people, I have to be able to hire people. But eventually, I want to do what I'm doing best. And that's basically why I'm focusing on the personal brand so much. I think bringing that up will help everything else. So I don't go make my own websites. I don't go write my own copy when you used to. But as you get to a position where you can afford to pay the best people, and where it just makes more sense for me to focus on something else, it doesn't make sense for me to go learn how to make a website. I could, but I could spend 10 hours doing something else that would make me a lot more money. So it doesn't make sense for me to do that. I would rather outsource it, because it would cost me $200. $200 for 10 hours of my life. Like, my time is worth more than $20 an hour. So it makes complete sense to do that.
But I think the first part is important too, like learning it yourself, because now you're able to hire the correct people because you've got some experience in, I don't know, ads, Instagram, whatever. You've got experience now.
Exactly. You can spot the bullshit a lot quicker if you actually have some type of experience in it. And so at the beginning, you should do everything yourself. If you have a little bit of money, don't go spending your money doing it. Like, learn yourself. And you've got plenty of time at that stage. Like, you're not super busy. Like, you can go learn. It's pretty easy to learn how to make a website. Like, it's not tough at all. But also when you're hiring people, eventually, if you kind of know the basics, you can spot the good people. You can have a bit of an understanding. If you want to communicate what you want, it's easy to do that if you know what's happening.
Exactly. I'm curious about like what are your plans next to like university? So university is upcoming hopefully in like 1.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
What are your plans like for the next? Because social media was your biggest thing the last
Mm-hmm.
time you came here. Well, what now? Because you kind of conquered that already.
No, I mean, I've got big plans. I've got big plans. I'm definitely excited, especially because I finished school now in November. I would finish my matric year in South Africa. I would only start uni if I go in September. So basically, I have 1 year. I'm gonna conquer the world in that year. I wanna. Then I've got an extra 8 hours because right now my day is spent to 3 8 hours. I have 8 hours of sleep, like everyone, and you shouldn't dig into that. I can regrettably say I have had to dig into that a lot, but you don't want to. It's very bad to dig into that 8. The next 8, you have 8 hours of work or sleep. I mean, 8 hours of work or school, and everyone has that. Everyone has 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work. Everyone has the third 8 hours. And those 38 hours is where everything happens. That's where you need to go to the gym. That's where you need to read. That's where you need to work. Your life is built. The quality of your life will solely be determined by how you spend your 38 hours. Because the first 2 are basically written off. Everyone has some type of job. Everyone has some type of school. And everyone has to sleep. So you have 8 hours. And in those 8 hours, you need to be as competitive as possible. You need to take care of your health, your mind, your body, and your finances, your family. Everything you need to do is in those 8 hours. And you can spend it scrolling or going out to the club, or you can spend it doing something super productive that will set you up for the rest of your life. So how you spend those 38 hours is the most crucial thing that's going to determine everything. And I'm going to unlock an extra 8 hours for this couple months. Because it's like taking a gap year, basically. I would never take a gap year. I feel like you're wasting. Yeah, a lot of people want to take a gap year, go lie on the beach in Thailand. It's like, yeah, cool, but like, you know, what you've just wasted a year, basically. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're young, you want to be cracking on it. So in those, I've got, instead of 8 hours, I've got 16 hours. So I want to build the businesses like crazy. I want to work on the social media. And my plan is actually I want to live 3 months or 2 months in a bunch of different places. Japan is definitely on the list. Spend 2 months like living in Japan. I want to spend 2-3 months in monk mode in Norway or in Iceland. Not bring a phone, like a pen and paper, and sit in my own thoughts for like 2-3 months. No one else around. Just me and a campfire. 1,000 kilometers of forest. I want to think like what I want with my life. Like, okay, cool. I've probably got some money by then, even more than I have now. But what do I actually want for life? I want to spend 2-3 months away from all the distractions. No phone, can't contact me. I'll figure out what happened. 3 months later, there'll be a lot of news to catch up on. But for 2-3 months, I want to be gone, like off the grid completely. Like literally just sitting down with my thoughts around a campfire and kind of plan out my whole life. Like, what do I want? Like truly, like, everyone wants money. Everyone wants the materialistic things. But what do I actually want? Like, what do I want to be remembered for? What influence do I want to have? You know, do I want a wife? Do I want kids? Where do I want to live? Like, what do I want to take the direction of my business? Like, what do I want to be known for? So I think spending some time thinking is definitely something I'll have time for then, because a lot of people don't have time to think. I can't just go sit and do nothing for 2 months now. But then I possibly could. So I think that's definitely something I've always wanted. For like the last 2-3 years, I've wanted that to unplug for a while, because I'm always busy. I'm always doing things. I'd want to spend this couple months thinking, like completely like come up with some crazy business or kind of change the game a lot. And I think you need time to plan it out. So I'd love to spend 2 months in Iceland, somewhere cold, like somewhere where I'm just in a house around a campfire. I'd also like to, you know, see a lot of the eastern side of the world a lot more. Like Japan, I loved. I've been all over Europe. I'm going to America now, but I want to see what it's like, the culture on the other side. I would like to go to China as well. So I want to travel a lot and could just continue working on the business, like completely just lock in. And I think if things go crazy well in those months, then I might not even go to uni. But I think it's interesting, and it's to have that freedom. I'm very excited for, because a lot of people forget that I'm like still a kid. I'm still in school. I still have to listen to my math teacher for hours every day. And soon that'll be done, and I'm happy like how I've done in school. Like I'll leave. I've perfectly grades, and you know I've made a lot of good friends from school. And overall, I like school. A lot of entrepreneurs hated school. It's all right. I was sitting in the back with my laptop, doing some trades every now and then. I'm checking up on the analytics, and because I did well in school, I got more leeway. I think if I was failing, I would never be able to leave call. Like if I tell the teacher like I need to take a call, they understand. Like okay, they know something. They don't know like what I'm doing, but they think he has some type of business or something. I don't think they know the type of numbers I'm doing, and I'll never tell them, because I think you don't want that relationship. You know, they're in the possession of authority, and I always leave it to them. Even though I probably am earning, or I actually know I am earning more than them, I still have massive respect. And most people see those clips very disrespectful to teachers and those type of things. You're an idiot. Like they're doing their job. They're very honest, good people. But yes, I can leave the call, leave the class, take a call, and you've got things like that I think are accessible because I'm a good student, and I'm able to learn things super quickly. So I do really, really well in school. Like my report looks, it's perfect, basically.
What would you give as advice for bad students?
Learn how to learn. the most valuable skill I've ever learned is learning how to learn. I think understanding the skill, because it's like, say you invest, it's like investing. If you invest 10 hours into reading and studying about how the brain actually works, like how do I memorize things? Learn for yourself. Some people are good with audio, some people are good visually. Learn how you learn. Spend 10 hours doing that, and I guarantee you the rest of your life, you'll be 20% more efficient learning. And in the end, it'll save you thousands of hours. If you can just read 20% faster and retain 20% more, you spend 10 hours to learn to do that, but for the rest of your life, it's a pay up. So it's like you invest a little bit up front and you'll get pleasure from that for the rest of your life. So most people schools never taught anyone. We don't get taught how to learn. They don't say, okay, this is how you should memorize things. You want to have, use this study method. And everyone's like, I can't just do this because what works for me might not work for you. And I can remember things insanely quickly. So for me, 15 minutes of studying, then being able to go back to work, and then like 15 minutes of hard studying again works for me. But that won't work for everyone. So figure out what works for you, like test it, like trial and error, like you should do with everything. Like I do the same with my health, and we'll go over that later. But you want to do trial and error and figure out like what works for you and learn how to learn. I think The Science of Learning is a good book I'd recommend to people to get started. The Science of Learning, and write it down.
Yeah, write it down.
Write it down. The Science of Learning. I think if you understand how to learn, it's the best skill in the world. It lets me read books with better retention, lets me do well in school. And undoubtedly, I can't tell you're going to read that book and be able to learn like I can. Like, it won't happen. I think you have a lot of genetics behind it. Like, I have a very good memory. I always have. As a kid, I was doing like, top in the country in math competitions, those type of things that, undoubtedly I have, better than average genetics for it. But I think learning how to learn has been super, super valuable for me. And it's not only for school, but through the rest of your life. You want to learn whatever you're doing. If you want to learn a language, or you want to learn a martial arts, or you want to read some books, like the better you can learn things, the more money you'll make regardless of the endeavor.
Yeah, what works for me is just listening to books while reading it, because then the whole time, like, you hear it and you see it, so you use all your senses.
I do the same, yeah. And then take notes. I mean, just for reading, how I read and how I'm able to retain so much is because I have a good memory. But B, you want to do what you said. You want to put in ears while you're reading. And not only, so you put it like 3x, you can put it really quick, because if you're doing the 1x, it's super slow, because you can read much quicker than you can listen. So you put it really quick, that sounds like Mickey Mouse is talking to you.
Yeah.
And so then you not only keep a good tempo, because sometimes you read, especially if you read at night like I do, you read through 3 sentences and you realize like, I've been reading, but I actually don't know what's happened.
You reread for 10 times.
Yeah, so you reread, but you actually don't understand what was said. You like, your eyes are moving, but like your brain is not actually reading it. And so reading helps with that, and you keep a steady tempo as well. Because sometimes you're reading quick, and then when you're reading,
you have to keep up with the Mickey Mouse voice.
Yeah, exactly. So you follow out with it, so you have better retention, and take notes. I mean, pause down. I have like my notes app, and I just have the best like things written down in my notes app. I have a pen and paper as well next to me when I'm reading, because a lot of book, there's not much value, but there's that 1 or 2 sentences I'm like, let me write that. Like, there's only a few important things to learn. Like, the whole book could be condensed to 1 page. And there's a bunch of useful information, but not to you. Like, for me at this stage, like, the guy just said that, and that's super important. Like, talks about how about hiring people. And for me right now, that's an important stage of my journey. But say someone else might read, and that's not an important bit of information to them. So it's a long book, but realistically for you, like the person reading, you have about 1 page of useful information that it's all condensed down to. So I have 1 page, a whole book summarized basically in 1 page. And there's a bunch of things I'm missing, but those are things I already know. Aren't applicable to me yet. It's about how to get past $100 million. Like, I need to learn that yet, because it's not applicable to me at all. I need to first get to $10 million. So I think the stage that, for how to get from mil to 10 mils is way more important for me than it is to do the other things. So I think you need to condense what's important to you and write it down, because you're not going to remember it forever. Even if you listen and read it, in 4 or 5 weeks, you've forgotten. So write down and review it. Like, every month, on the 1st of April, I'll just go read through all of the things I've written down for all these different books. So I've got 100 books. I've got all these different paragraphs and pages I'll get through in a day or two. And all of a sudden, it refreshes those things in my mind.
Is that also not the reason why those most popular books or those most commercial books are probably not the best ones to learn from? Because they are too broad, not specific enough?
Yeah, I think you should begin reading the popular books just to get the broad overview, and it's just everyone recommends them. But find the style of books you like, because you'll see enjoy it a bit. I've never read a fiction book in my life. Even for school, I would always just search summaries. I've never in my life read a fiction book, just because some people enjoy doing it, but I enjoy watching a movie more. I'll be honest. I'd rather be watching TikTok or a YouTube video than reading, and I don't think there's much value in reading fiction. But I read not for fun. I read to learn. It's not fun to read a book. It's way funner to go watch a Netflix series, or even go play football with your friends, than it is to go read. But I think it's good for your attention span, and it's good to learn from. So figure out exactly what you like, because it'll make it easy. If you're reading the most boring finance book, which I've read, it's more difficult to do that than it is to read a very well written book. So find the type of style you're looking for, and information that's applicable to you, like useful things. Like if you're not super worried about investing, don't go read Warren Buffett's autobiographies and things like that. Get more things that are applicable to you. Like if you're a young person, read about an entrepreneur that's written books like quite young. It's no use. Maybe you can gain value for someone older, but kind of read positions. The author matters a lot. Like before I read a book, I always do quick 30 seconds about what the author did. Like I don't want to take this guy's advice if it's not like in a position I would want to be in. If he's some broke guy that's never done a business and he's talking to me about money, like why should I listen? That's why I think the school system is a bit broken. It's because you have a business teacher teaching you who's never ran a business. So they've become positions of authority that they're teachers, but they're not actually like in a position of authority that they have more knowledge in the field than they should. So a lot of them, like I undoubtedly can say with confidence, I know more about business than my business teacher. He studied the curriculum, but I've been in the field of business for 5 years. I've scaled business massively. I've read every book there is. So I feel like, I always still respect them, but I don't feel like they're in a position. Whereas if I read Warren Buffett, he knows so much more about business than me. So of course I'm going to listen. If I listen to Alex Hormozi talk about podcasts, he's so much smart and he's done so much more in business than I have. So I should listen to them. So I think it's always important to listen to people a couple steps ahead of you, even a million steps ahead of you. They can always give you advice on how they got there. But if you're listening from people below you, like you've already passed that step. Like you don't need advice on how to pass those challenges because you already passed them. So it can be help. Maybe you don't want to fall back there, but it's always important to get people ahead of you on the journey because that's how you're going to have to get through those obstacles is with the knowledge they give you.
But with Harvard, like the professors in Harvard, are they mostly like successful in their own career?
Massively.
Or?
I mean,
yeah?
not everyone can just go be a Harvard professor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the value comes from the content. Those professors are like, massive companies. A lot of them, they exited the company for 70, 80 million and they don't quite want to retire and they've got massive knowledge. So they'll go teach like economics at Harvard. Okay. So those aren't like school teachers. You just went to uni and went there. It's very hard to get a position at a university like that. It's very well respected people. And you have a lot of guest speakers. Like you have Mr. Beast recently went to go talk at Harvard. And
that's crazy.
Everyone says Harvard, but there's plenty of other good schools. I don't know if I would even want to go to Harvard, but Stanford I'd love to go to Stanford. You have a lot of really, really successful people came out of Stanford, and Princeton School and Wharton School of Business where Trump went. There's also very, very good schools. So there's plenty of good unis. And I think there is value to it. And those positions are much more difficult to get into than a school teacher. Like a school teacher business, there's no requirement of them to ever have a business, or the science teachers never had to work in the field or anything. Like it's literally just they got the position like from some uni to be a teacher. Not even some of them don't even have uni degrees. Some of them just left high school and they're coming back to high school to teach. Yeah. So it's interesting.
What do you think are the odds for someone from South Africa or from the Netherlands to end up at an Ivy League college or university?
It's very, very tough. It's extremely difficult because we're not used to American things. So I'm taking the SAT soon.
Okay.
And I was just but I think it's more difficult in the sense that you don't know, like, we don't know what the SAT is. Like, as a non-American, like, I had no idea. Or you have GPA. Like, I don't think that's in Holland either. Like,
grades per average or something.
Yeah, it's like, but how do you work? It's out like 4. So, like, how does that work?
Yeah, and also
so
with
like,
the A, B, C grading, we're not used to that.
Yeah, we get a percentage. Like, you get 94% and you get 3%, whatever your test is.
You didn't study,
Yeah. So it's a very different system. I think that's where the challenges come in. And just because it's crazy expensive, a lot of the world can never afford something like that. But I think Europe has plenty of great universities. I like London a lot. I might go study there, or even in Holland. I'm looking at Erasmus in Holland.
Yeah.
I've heard very, very good things. So plenty of good unis, and I'm not necessarily saying the States. And honestly, I don't like America. I don't like the people. I don't like the culture. Accent would annoy me a bit.
You'd have to live there for 4 years, right?
Basically. So that's why I'm going there now. Tomorrow I fly to go visit all the Ivies. We'll see how it is. Because, I mean, if you want to live there, like, cool, Harvard's got a good name and everyone knows Harvard and everyone respects Harvard. But then you're living in Boston. So, like, how nice is Boston? Like, what is that like? Or if you go to Stanford, you're in California, maybe that's a bit nicer. Or whatever it is, because it's not just a uni, it's like you actually live there. And so I think studying a place like Amsterdam, I think it's a really good uni. Though it's not on the same level of Harvard, of course. The city might be more fun. You might actually gain more knowledge from it. And the one thing the guy said is where you choose to study where the money is. He studied at London School of Economics. And while he was studying, he went straight to Goldman Sachs. So that's how he got an internship there, and then he worked there. And so while he was studying, he wasn't, if you're studying in Boston, it's a big city, but it's not a massive city. You'd be better off studying in Columbia and being super close to Wall Street. And after uni, you get to go work there, or you're around the money. Like I was in London, every third call was a Rolls Royce or a Range Rover. Like if you're surrounded by the money, you're meeting the right people, you're in the right places. Where if you're in some university in the middle of nowhere, and a lot of the Ivies are in pretty small, like old towns, you're not really around the money. So say a university like Columbia or Stanford, you're right in Silicon Valley. So it's better to be around all the other tech founders and things like that than it is to maybe be at a better uni, say Harvard or Princeton. I don't even know where Princeton is, but it's maybe you're in a bit of a smaller city, not around the money. So he's recommended to me, Columbia, it's right in the middle of New York, or Stanford, you're right in Silicon Valley, or London School of Economics, where you're kind of in these centers where you're around the money. And I think it's lessons apply. Like if you're around your friends and your friends are busy with money or self-development or the gym, you surround yourself with the right people, not only in your city, but even more important, like your circle. So if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of people that are, on the same wave as you, that they're, making content, or that they're busy with finance or whatever it is, you'll pick up on that. So you surround yourself with the right people and put yourself in the right place.
Definitely. That's also what your community is for, kind of, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's a super cool tool, and there's plenty of like info products out that are super, super cool. And I think it used to be super taboo to join and create them, but it's less and less. I think Alex Hormozi, who's a massive idol of mine, have done a lot, and the fact that his biggest investment ever now is in school shows that
Super dope.
smart money like is behind him. These programs are coming better and better. And I think there's more and more value. The shift away from education is going to be massive. I think universities will still be valuable. Everyone still have to go to school, but self-education has become more and more important. So joining the right communities, you're going to join a community to learn how to surf. I think you're going to join a community to learn how to run a podcast. You're going to join a community for how to grow to be an influencer, how to be a businessman. I think you have a lot more info products happening that people will sell because it's relatively cheap compared to getting a degree of learning how to be a plumber, or what do you have to have like some type of institution. If you join some type of community that's $200, there's a lot of value in that. Because it's such a good business model, for me, there's basically zero cost. So I can put it at quite a low price because, I still want to have a filter that kind of serious people join. Because if you said something free, there's no value in it. Because everyone joins and no one takes it seriously. So I ran a free because I know what it's like. I ran a free community for a while because I had my money from crypto and my money from the agency. And it, I didn't really need it. But if you create something that's free, then all of a sudden people join, they're looking for like to saying, but all of a sudden you've paid $50 or $100 to join. You're like, you've got skin in the game, and you wanna get value out of it. And you just get a bunch of bullshitters if you have a free product. If a free product, people join, they don't care at all, like they're not active in the chat, and they don't feel like they've put anything in. They say, whatever. But if you join this community, you feel like you're part of this brotherhood. People are typing in the chat, they're online every day, they're watching all the videos, they're helping out other members, and you feel like you're part of something. Like you've paid to join this thing, and you're getting value from it. You feel like you're part of like a brotherhood, and you're answering each other's questions, and you're helping out all the other members, and you're typing in the chat, and you're sharing your wins. Whereas if it's free, it's like you're not really part of anything. Like anyone can join. So that exclusivity, same with brands. That's why brands put their price up so much. When you like people, you want to feel part of this brand identity. And if it's free, then everyone can join. It's not worth anything. So people want to be part of something exclusive. So having a free program, I did it for a while, and it doesn't work as well. And it's less active, and I was getting less student results. Now that I have I'm plenty of people like 14, 50, I was making $5,000, $6,000 a month. It's a super cool feeling. And I think if it was free, I would never have taken it as seriously. And I know it's true because I had a free community. People were getting some results, but wasn't nearly as much because they didn't feel like they were part of something and they'd invested. Then you really want to get the most out of it.
You need to feel as if you're really invested in it. You're 100% correct. One of my clients, he does like these shows with like 2,000 people. And he sometimes gives like 20 to 30 tickets away, like giveaways. And most of them, they just don't show up, even though those tickets are worth like 1,000. So just because it's free, suddenly you're not coming anymore because you don't really feel attached to it.
I mean, and value and price are very closely associated. I mean, right now I'm wearing Laura Piana shoes, and they're €1,000. And everyone thinks and some people recognize them because they have different soles than the normal loafers do. But I can tell you honestly, the quality is not that good. Everyone thinks, because I thought if I could refund them, I would. Like I'm so unimpressed. I'm so unimpressed. Iman convinced me to buy them, and all these type of people talking positively about them. Overrated as hell. I think the Zara ones, they feel the same. So. And I thought because it's so expensive, that quality has to be good.
Yeah.
And people feel the same with a program. They think because they're paying $5,000 for this, it's better than the $30 program, which it doesn't necessarily have to be at all. Everyone always associates price with quality because it used to be that way. So if you're buying a hoodie for $500, you think the quality from your Gucci hoodie is better than the one from Zara. It's the exact same materials. There's no extra quality to it. You're paying for, just because you feel like it's high quality and you're paying a lot, doesn't mean it is. And it's the same with programs. People that sell free program or very like $7 program. It's like, what am I going to learn for a $7 program? And there's a $15,000 program. You're like, it's so expensive. There must be so much value behind it. So there's people that sell these super expensive programs. People think they're getting like, they're charging $15,000. Like the knowledge I get from this must be crazy. But the $7 program could be better. The price and quality aren't as correlated as people think. And the Laura Piana shows have showed me that everyone says like the best quality. I'm sure it is. It's good quality. But I don't think it's not 100 times better than the other shoes are.
But do you think you also have people then joining these communities that are like 15,000 euros or dollars and then expecting a lot of value and then kind of being dissatisfied?
Yeah, I think you used to have that a lot more than you do now. I think now people are, trying to make good info products because you want retention. A lot of it is subscription model. So I want to make my community as best as possible to keep people in as long as possible.
Otherwise they'll
Same
just
with the
quit
software.
after
Yeah,
1
exactly.
month.
You want the highest LTV, the highest lifetime value for customers that you can get. You do definitely have programs, especially the super expensive ones. There's no justification for it to be worth that much. Like because I had a free community for a while, but it didn't work because I would spend so much. Like, it doesn't make sense for me to do weekly calls and chat with students if everyone's joining for free. Like, I don't have unlimited time. Whereas now mine's $97 a month, so I have less people in. But first of all, it's high quality people, and now this incentive for me to make time for them because they can have paid me. I'll go and answer chats for them. I'll have live calls every week in there. So now if everyone joined for free, there's like no incentive for me. Like, I've got my business that is actually making me money. So that's where I'm going to put my time. But if my community is making me money, I'm going to put a lot more time into that. But there's no justification for people to sell $15,000, $20,000 programs. Unless it's like, even all the best information, you can still sell it at a pretty low price because it doesn't cost you much upfront. Because, I put a bunch of time into, say, my community, and I'm still putting a bunch of time in. But I don't need to sell it for $15,000 because I basically have zero costs. And most info products have basically zero costs. It costs some money to get a studio, film, maybe get some people in, whatever it is. It's very low cost. And then I don't think it's fair to charge people $15,000, $20,000 for something like that because it's such a clean business model. Like, I don't have to run any ads. I get basically pure profit. Basically, I am the advertising. People see me. They then go through my funnel and they join the program. Yeah. So if I start charging $15,000, I'm sure I could make a few sales, but I don't want to sell something that isn't worth it. If I could put my price to $1,000, but I know if I'm selling a product for $97, then I guarantee that there's more than $97 worth of value in it. And if I start charging $1,000, there might not be $1,000 worth of dollars worth of value for you. And I don't want it. Then it's a negative exchange. If you're buying a t-shirt for $20, you get $20 worth of value from that t-shirt. You wear it off and you feel good, you look good. There's value in that. But then all of a sudden, if I'm charging $1,000 for my program, the one kid that's joining might not, pay attention. He might not get $1,000 worth. I mean, plenty of people have got more than that. They've got businesses doing multiple thousands every month, even kids doing 10K plus months. And there would be value in them for $1,000, but not everyone does. And most members will get more than $100 worth of value. So I feel super confident and I feel super safe charging that. And also, if I sell a $20,000 program, impossible everyone gets $20,000 worth of value. There's nothing I can say in videos or help them with that is going to bring them $20,000 worth of value. Maybe not this stage. If Elon Musk opens a program, I would pay $20,000 to join. Yeah. But I don't think I'm in a stage where I could ever charge. And I think most people that charge these programs, their time or their knowledge isn't worth that much.
But it's also, the example that you just mentioned about Gucci or Loro Piana, I think it's very relevant because it's also about the brand, right? If Elon Musk would teach the exact same thing that you're teaching now, people would probably pay a lot more about it
and they should
feel good about it as well.
You have the credibility behind it. Like, the credibility is so important. I mean, you could have a guy that gives all the best soccer advice, but I've listened to how Ronaldo plays soccer because he has evidence behind it. He has the 5 Ballon d'Ors. He has the 5 Champions Leagues behind it. Could be the same information, but who's telling you matters a lot. Yeah. And that's also why I like my platform because you have plenty of people saying the same thing, but they're 25, 30. Whereas a 17, 16-year-old might listen to me because they're like, okay, they've seen I've done this, they've seen the business, they've seen this, and they know their age. So it kind of brings up a lot more credibility for younger people. Whereas, it's 25, it's impossible for me to do it at this age. I think maybe I've opened some eyes in that sense. But credibility is super important. And that's why it's super important. Like I say, you shouldn't listen to people that don't know. And people ahead of me or people that they shouldn't listen to me. There's people making 20 million, 30 million a year. Don't listen to me. What do I know compared to them? They're much smarter. They have much more credibility in business than I do. They're infinitely further ahead than I am. Like, I'm not there. I probably will be at some point. And then those people, if I'm ahead of them, can listen to me. But I wouldn't go listen to people that are super below you. Like Warren Buffett doesn't need to hear how I think about investing. You know, Alex Hormozy doesn't need to think how I feel about info products. He knows better than I do. And Eman doesn't need to hear about me, about how I talk about content. Like he knows what he's doing. He has the personal brand figured out much more than I do. So I'll listen to them, but they shouldn't need to listen to me because their track record shows that they're ahead of me. And it's not all about age. I mean, there's plenty of people that are, say, 10 years older than me that know less than I do, and I wouldn't listen to them. But there's people even a year or two younger than me that I'll listen to with open ears that have done better than I have. Very few, but there's definitely out there. Like, so I think you should definitely pay attention to people's credibility, and the track record is super, super important. Like if Joe Rogan tells you how to do a podcast, you're listening with open
I'll
ears.
pay for that, yeah. For
Exactly.
Sure. All of the things we discussed today, one thing you need is fuel. And this afternoon, my mom offered you cake and you didn't want it because you're on a carnivore diet. What's the reason you chose for that diet?
Like everything, I'm super scientific about my health. And this carnivore has become very much of a cult. And I was like, this is going to be too much. So I went vegan. I went completely vegan for a while. And I've been pescatarian. I've tried it all, and I get blood work done. I'm not just like, wake up, how do I feel? Maybe you got bad sleep. There's a bunch of different things that affect it. So I went vegan for 2-3 months, got blood work done, felt terrible. And the blood work showed it. I was low in energy. I felt really skinny. I was, that had some advantages. Like my skin was really good, but I've always kind of taken care of that. Some other things that did have advantages. I was pretty healthy, but overall carnivore, I feel much better. So then I switched over, and I was eating only meat now for months. I got blood work done. I feel like a beast, and I can work way better. Very, very clear brain. I had quite a lot of brain fog being vegan. But when you're vegetarian and when you're on carnivore, you definitely feel a lot better, and the blood work shows. And I think, especially as a guy, having some meat is important. Protein and stuff along those lines. And you have a bunch of nutrients that you can't get from vegetables in meat. Like there's a bunch of vitamins that you get in lettuce and things like that. They're very abundant, actually. Your body has a lot of them, but a lot of things in meat exclusively come from meat. And fake meat is the worst. If you're going vegan, don't take fake meat, because it has a bunch of seed oils. We talked about in the lot podcast how bad seed oils are for you. A lot of the fake meat, and I see it in the supermarket here in Holland, there's shelves of all this fake meat. And go vegan, you're better off going vegan than you are eating a normal diet. But the fake meat is really, really bad. It's super processed. The only ingredient in beef is meat. There's only one ingredient. You look at the fake meat, 35 ingredients, soybeans, they get a bunch of canola oil, they mix a bunch of salt, they do a bunch of bad things in there, and that's super bad for you. The only ingredient in my fillet is meat. That's the only thing in it. It's just a cow, and you want to get grass-fed. You're better off being vegan than eating terrible meat. A lot of people, carnivore, and they're eating their McDonald's and things like that. Better off not eating any meat. Get grass-fed meat, get good food, get good water, get good sleep. Those are the only things that really matter. You can go super far, you can go only carnivore like I am, but you'll be 80% of the way there if you just eat enough meat, you eat enough vegetables, you eat enough fruit, you're 80% of the way there. But I don't want 80%, I want 100%. So I'm very, very strict on my diet. But with this, you just get 8 hours of sleep a night, eat good food, drink enough water, stay away from the things you know to stay away from. Your alcohol, your fast food, your drugs. And I can proudly say my whole life, I've never once tried a drug ever. I've never tried weed. I've never been drunk. I've never tried any of it. I've had a sip of alcohol, and say there's a table in with a shots, I'll have a shot. I'm not like super religious about it. Like if everyone's having a toast, I'll have one. I've never had any where I've ever felt the point of where I'm drunk or anything along those lines. I've never tried a drug in my life, and I don't see the need to. And I'm happy I haven't I have put myself in a position where I am now without having to need to take that, because I'm around. I mean, I go out every now and then for networking, things like that. People offer me a drink, I'm okay, don't worry. And you actually get a lot of respect for it. You get a respect from the high people, and the low people don't. If I'm out with drinking, there's a bunch of guys making like 5, 6, 7K months. They're like, why aren't you drinking? Like, what the hell? And I mean, out at this lunch I was at now, they offered me a drink. I said, no, I don't drink. And they're like, oh, they respected it. Whereas the guys that are like trying to bring you down, like, what? No, it's just one drink, man. Like, who cares? I'm like, no, I'm all right. I've never had a problem with peer pressure, because I think you have enough confidence in yourself, then it doesn't really matter. They can say whatever. I think if you have enough confidence in yourself, that peer pressure never will get to you. Like, I think it's only if you're very insecure, if you're not like assured of yourself, then you want the validation from other people. So, I mean, and the top guys respected it, and I think, no, that's what's really important. I don't care to impress the people below me. I want to impress the people above me. And I think not drinking is a good decision for anyone to make. and I would recommend that. And it's, a lot of the religious books also go against alcohol. I mean, even the Bible goes against alcohol, but it's very normal to drink. People from Islam do it much better than the Christians do, in the sense that they follow the book better. And I myself am not religious. It's something I need to explore. And although I'm very well read on many topics, religion is something I haven't. I grew up in an atheistic household, so I haven't explored religion as much as I should. I don't know much about any of the major religions, but at some point I definitely want to spend a couple months studying. I want to study Buddhism, I want to study Islam, I want to study Christianity, I want to study all the major religions and come to my own conclusion. And that's definitely a path that I still need to take. I'm well developed financially or in education or in status, but I still need to explore that elements of spiritual is definitely something I'm lacking, and you can't have a complete life without it. So it's a bad excuse that I say I've been busy, because you definitely make time for it. It's definitely also high up in my list of priorities, explore kind of that elements of my life, because it's an element I've been ignoring. And I'll openly say that I don't know much about it, and I should. I like to know a bunch about different things, but I haven't explored that elements as much as I should have.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that if you say to people that you don't drink alcohol, they'll right away just ask the question if you're religious.
Yeah. I haven't known enough about religion, because I've never really studied it. I study other topics.
Yeah.
But everyone knows alcohol is bad for you, and I think especially while you're young, I have a lot to celebrate, but I don't feel like I do. Most people, if they were in my position, they'd be celebrating, but I have such high expectations for myself, and I think that goes back to the ego, talking. I've always felt like I deserved to go to the highest level, and I'm not at the highest level. Yeah. I'm sure I'm doing better than most people are, but I don't feel like I'm that celebrating, because I'm not where I want to be content. I'm doing good things. I could chill now, but not for me. I want to go to the highest level, and I can celebrate when I'm there. But honestly, I don't think I'll ever be there, because now I'm in a position where 3-4 years ago, if I get to this position, I'm good. And now I'm in this position and I don't feel good. So I don't think it'll ever end. I think even if I have 1 billion, I'll be 10 billion, 100 billion. So I think it's a very slippery slope, and I don't think anyone is content. You go Elon Musk, he's not happy. He wants to go further. He wants to make Tesla bigger. He wants to have more influence. He wants some more money, more power, more change to the world. So I don't think you ever be content with it. So as much as say I don't want to celebrate now, I'll celebrate later. Maybe I won't spend my life celebrating much, and I think it's a part of it, and I've always been okay with that. I'm not happy to celebrate now and do things. I can do it later, but honestly, I don't think I will later. I'll be busy with work again, and maybe that's the course of my life, and I'd be happy with it.
Definitely understand. Yeah, I mean, religion at the end of the day, it's a good guideline to follow. Also, definitely. When you're struggling with celebrating or having fun, it's a topic that we've discussed on the podcast many times. There are a lot of temptations that come around when you're young, especially when you're quite wealthy and you have a lot of free time and you name it. One that comes with it as well are the females, bro.
The female.
Yeah. How does love and dating play a role in your life right now?
It's interesting because I'm in a unique position, but if you've watched The Matrix, the movie, you have the lady in the red dress.
Definitely.
And that's how I always felt about girls, that they just distraction, look away, the Asian kills you. Just like that, your business is gone. But I'm more focused on it now, or I say focus on girls. I've never had a girlfriend my whole life. I've never once had a serious relationship ever. Even as a kid, as a teenager, I've never had a girlfriend. And I like to think I'm doing okay. I'm 6'2". I think I'm decently good looking. I've got the status. I've done well in business. But I've never had time for it. I've never really entertained it much. I think it's such a cool part of life. Eventually, I want a wife. I want kids. And girls, I think all the dressing on top to make a good life. I think I'd rather be broke and miserable with a good wife and kids than I would to be worth infinitely more money than I am now, but be alone and miserable.
Or with a lot of fake women and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy to find hedonistic pleasures.
Yeah.
I think meditations, reading that so many times has kept me away from a lot of that. So I've never done all the degenerate things, and I've never had real love, I guess. And I'm curious to experience that. I think that's an important part of life, and eventually I will get there. But for dating, I've gone on multiple dates, and I always have the same playbook to stay clear of the wrong people. I always say dress nice, but I'm taking to McDonald's. And I don't eventually. I always take them to a nice place. And I always, then when you pay the bill, you do that, especially in the position I'm in, I can afford to do that. But I think it's an easy way. You can always sort through. And because of my socials, I, attract a lot of the wrong type. I'll get plenty DMs and, they don't need a reply.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah. But I also, very selfishly, I feel like I can't find someone on my level in terms of scarcity. I mean, a 17-year-old of my level, it's very hard to find say just in terms of value, like say I'm top 1%, I'd say more than that, but the you know, how I'm educated, I'm making a lot of money, and so I'm go back to arrogance, that I feel like I'm in the top 0.1% of guys, especially my age. And I think it's very hard to find a female I respect as much as I respect myself. Maybe it's very bad to say, but it's truthfully that I respect myself so much because I know what I've gone through. I know the work I've put in, the things I've sacrificed, and you know, the position I'm in is rare. So to find another same on this level, I think, you know, it's hard to find someone on that level of, you know, of beauty, of respect, of loyalty, of them, you know, doing their own thing. I think it's hard to find someone on that level, and I would have to go down. And
So you have a high standard?
I have a very high standard.
You mean
and
as in like business? Like you want them to be on your
Oh, it
level
doesn't
of
need to be business, but I think, you know, values, however you interpret it. For me, I place a lot of my value on my financial success, you know, my, you know, outgoingness, my education, my discipline. I think that's where a lot of my value comes in. But for my girlfriend, I don't care how she's doing in business, because call me misogynist, but I think I should be the one that's out there working. I don't want her to go work some office job. If she'd like to, go ahead. But ideally, like my dream life, I would have a girl that's taking care of the kids, taking care of me, more than she has to worry about going to job. She can go, you know, have a job if she likes it, but I want her to worry about making money. I don't want her to worry about those type of things. I think that's my burden, and I'd want that to be my burden. I wouldn't want it any other way. So to find someone on that same wavelength, I think is difficult. And I think a lot of the female value comes a lot from loyalty, from, you know, their presence, if you know, or their beauty, of course, as well. If you rock up with a girl and she's a 10 out of 10 and, you know, every guy's looking at her, it brings a lot more status to you. So maybe in a selfish way, that's also a very, very good part of it. And of course, the most beautiful thing about life is to have a good woman. And I think loyalty is super important. I wouldn't want a girl that's disloyal. You want a girl with a very bad past.
Yeah.
I think those are all important things, and it's never something I'll take it seriously. But as I grow, at some point I want a girlfriend. I don't want to go 30 when I've never had a girlfriend.
You also mentioned kids, so it's also one of the most important decisions you can make in your life, right? If you see
the most
your relationship as a business and your kid as a product, well, it's just just if you think about it this way, I know it sounds very weird, but if you have a bad business partner, your product just will be shit. It's like the most important thing in your life, your kid when it's born, right? You see it with all these celebrities, Travis Scott, Kylie Jenner, you know, just breaking up because he was only looking at her appearance and not
and
really
you
her
own
mindset.
50% of the equity of your kid. So yeah, it's a good investment.
No, yeah, I think it's a super important decision. and for me, the end goal is definitely kids, family. And the money helps with that. And then people say money doesn't buy happiness, but you can spend more time with your kids. If you have to go to the office 9 to 5 every day, you barely see your kids. They come home from school, they're tired, they go to bed. You barely seem like an hour or two overlap every day. But if you got your own business, make your own time around it, or say you're retired by that age, you can spend a lot more time with them. Your kid gets sick, you don't have to send them to a government hospital. You can send them to the best hospitals in the world. And I recently know this because one of the richest people in South Africa, I was talking with them, and recently had cancer, and the one you know was like a blood cancer, like one of the most deadly ones. And he told me, thank God I'm rich, because he went to the best healthcare in Switzerland. They take normal chemo. If you go to chemo here, or you go to chemo in England, or even in South Africa, government chemo, they basically there's hundreds of types of chemos, and they blast you with everything until either you die or the cancer dies. But for a place, it costs you $5 million maybe, but you go to a place in Switzerland, they take out a little sample, they try all the 100 types of chemo on it, very expensive, they see which one reacts best, and they only expose you to that chemo. You don't lose your hair, you don't get all the side effects, and he killed the cancer. And I was shocked, because I always thought in death we were fair. The whole life you have differences. You know, some people are born way above, some people are born way below, but in death everyone is equal. You can't escape death. But statistically, the rich were longer.
It's pay to live.
It's literally pay to live, and that the rich can get the best food, they get the best healthcare. So of course you want to be on that team. Although it may not be fair, they live longer. Look statistically, all the richest people, royalty, have always lived longer than the peasants have. I mean, Queen Elizabeth got 99. That's a recent example. But if you look at the richest people, live the longest. They have good food. They do less labor-intensive things. You're not doing back-breaking labor, but also have access to the best healthcare. I mean, those type of doctors, the best doctors work for the best money. They're humans too. So if you're the guy that went to the best uni, you studied it all, and you've done 1,000 operations, you're not going to charge the same as the guy that's just starting out. And when I'm on my deathbed, I don't want the guy that's just starting up, cutting up my body. I want the guy that's done it 1,000 times. It costs 1,000 times as much. So in the end, health is the most important thing. And money in some sense buys that. Of course, I could fall dead and have a heart attack right now. I live perfectly healthy, and I could still get a heart attack. But The more money I have, the better chances you have of getting the best healthcare, the best food, the best equipment. I mean, it's not easy to. I'm on carnivore diet, it's super expensive. And to get the type of thing, ice baths, infrared, sauna, all those things are super expensive. Supplements, it's all super expensive. So money definitely helps with those type of things. And that kind of showed me is like, okay, so the rich do have an unfair advantage, even in death, that they're able to cheat it, like high 90% like mortality rate for like cancer. And he was unscathed. So I think that's very important, and it shows that it isn't fair in that sense. That the same kid could get that cancer and he's done for. You'll go to the government healthcare in America or the government healthcare in England, and chances are he won't make it. And the guy that has the big business can make it. So maybe not fair, but health you can buy that and buy more time with your wife. If you have more money, you can actually spend time, and you doesn't have to go for the job and you have to work, and you can experience better things. You can live the best quality life with money. If you ask a kid, every kid wants it. Everyone kid wants a fast car, the pretty wife, the big house, and to travel. Every kid wants that. And, we're kind of taught to give up this dream as we get older. But I want to live that dream that I had as a kid. And that's what I've always wanted. I always wanted the red Ferrari. I want to get there eventually. You always want the nice watch. You always want the prettiest girl. You want to travel to the nicest places. And with money, you buy the best quality things. You go to the best hotels. You go to the best locations. You eat the best food. You drive the quickest cars. You experience the best things. So I wouldn't want a life where you don't experience that. So, you want the best quality life, you're going to need money. And there are people that are happier sitting on the beach in Thailand making $5,000 a month than the CEOs earning $500 million a year. There's people that are, those are people happy, and money doesn't buy happiness in that sense. But for the type of life I know I want, I'd need money.
Yeah. So this is also one of those things that you really have to decide for yourself. Maybe take time to think. This is not one good or bad. It's just personal thing, right?
Yeah. And I think the view that money is evil, the teachers tell you money is the root of all evil.
No.
It's a very, very negative
Loving
mindset.
money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
That's the actual phrase, but people leave that out.
Yeah. So I think it's very important. And one of the guys said at lunch, if money is all you have, you're the poorest guy I know.
Damn.
So which is a very, very good thing to say.
For a rich man to say that,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And the thing is, people think just because you have money, you don't have everything else. Like, yeah, he's a billionaire, but he's probably sad and miserable. He has a wife, he has kids,
Yeah.
he lives the best life, and he has the money.
That's rich.
So it's not like one or the other. And a lot of people sacrifice so much for the money, and it isn't worth it at that point. But it's not like you only have the money or you only have happiness. You can have both, and I want both, and you should strive to have both. And I think they compound on each other. If you have a good life, you make good money. If you have good money, you can have a good life. So they kind of ricochet off each other. And I think focusing on one super heavily can be important in the beginning. Say you can spend some time, you can degrade your relationships a bit. Like, okay, no friends, I don't have time to go out, or like, no mom, like I can't say, yeah, I've got this meeting. And you can do it for a while, but after a couple points, like I'm not going to go sacrifice lunch with my mom if I'm making 100 mil. Then lunch with your mom becomes very, very valuable. What does it mean to make extra $10,000 at that point? But in the beginning, it's super important. You might have to, hurt the relationships a bit to get to a stage, but you have diminishing returns. After 50 million, you'll never finish your money. You can buy anything. You can buy the best car, you can get a nice Lambo, you can buy the cool house, and you won't really run out of money. And at that point, to go strive for 500 million or 5 billion, you're not going to become infinitely more happy. You can already live the best life. You can already stay at the nicest hotels, eat the best food. Only thing you can't go buy is like a 300-meter yacht and an airplane, which you can rent anyway for like $20,000 a time. So you're never going to have to spend 20 mil on an airplane. So it's diminishing returns. And at
Probably
some point,
a headache to own.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
At some point, all that matters really is the influence. Tying it back to the beginning is that at some point, there's no more materialistic things that can buy you pleasure. I know these guys I was talking with, they said, it won't make you happy. Like the material things won't make you happy, but you have to buy them first to find out. So you can go say that the Ferrari isn't going to make you happy because you get very used to it. So the first 2-3 weeks driving the Ferrari, you feel like the man. But after 2 years, it feels the same as it did driving your Toyota. So I think after all, you get accustomed to things, and humans are meant to get accustomed to their environments. So it's cool in the beginning, like you buy this new thing, you're leveling up, but at some point it all becomes very mundane, and your standard becomes like that. The standard becomes the Ferrari, and then you can go chase the Bugatti, and then you can go chase the Koenigsegg or the Pagani. Then but whatever it is, you'll get used to it eventually. So I think the materialistic pleasures are cool in the beginning, especially now. Like it's super cool buying a super nice watch or going to travel and things like that. But I know in 5 years, like I'll get used to that and it'll become my norm. And that's a very dangerous place to be because you either keep climbing or you just become content. And I've never been content, which is something you need to learn eventually. And it's been an asset because if I'm making 10K a month, I'm not content, I want more. I'm making 20K a month, I'm not content, I want more. And I've got this many followers. No, I'm not content, I want more. And same when you say you have a really good physique. and this guy's got an amazing physique, but he's not happy. He wants to look like Arnold. He wants to keep chasing.
Yeah.
It's good to get progress, but it's also deadly in the sense that, you know, you're never fully happy and you're never fully satisfied, that you're always wanting to level up, which can be a very slippery slope.
I think right now you're walking on a thin line between content and unhappiness. But I think for this age, for our age, I think that's the best thing to have, the asset of being not being content. But
Happily
then,
dissatisfied.
yeah, happily dissatisfied. But when you're older, like when you get kids, I think then it's important to understand being kind of content. Because the thing is, if you're not content, you'll sacrifice relationships with your wife, with your kids, just to get more money, just to get more success, because you're not content. So
Yeah.
for now, it's a good asset. But I think later in life, but we'll develop that later in life. I think that's not something to worry about right now.
I think for me, my happiest days are when I'm not happy. Like I don't feel happy being happy. I don't know how to put it. But those days where I was pretty miserable. I was just working. I got all the things done. I woke up super early, 4:30. I've cracked the ice bath. I've had a nice gym session. I've been working. That night, I'll be so happy. Even though the whole day I wasn't happy. Like I feel happy with progress. Like progress is my main sense of happiness. Or I have a day where I'm meant to be happy. I'm out traveling, or I'm out with my friends. I'm doing cool things. We're driving cool cars, and we're going to this cool place. At the end of the day, I'll think, like, what a waste of time. Like, this was so meaningless. Like, it was cool, but I wasn't really happy the whole time. And it's a bad mindset that I have. The whole time while I'm sitting in a Ferrari, I'm thinking, like, bro, like, I should be at home working. Like, why am I not doing things? Which is silly, because I'm very hard on myself in the sense that I could do something really cool. Like, I'll be, you know, enjoying myself in Japan. But the whole time I'm thinking, like, why not working? Like, you could be getting more done, which is a bad feeling. And I'm grateful for it, but I'm also like, I think I'll never be as happy as some people, and I don't mind that. I'm not upset by that at all. My main, like, my driving thing is progress, whatever it is. I like progressing. And as a kid, I always used to love video games because I get this sense of progress, that I was at this level, now I'm at this level. And now I love the progress of life. I love upgrading my mindset. I love reading more, learning more knowledge. I love upgrading the social, the personal brand. I love upgrading the business. The sense of progress for me is the biggest sense of happiness. And for me, that's what I love. I love going to the next step and then going to the next step. So for me, progress is where my happiness comes from. And I feel like if you chase happiness, it's a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be super happy taking fentanyl under a bridge. If you just measure actual, like, dopamine, if you measure your happiness, you're super happy
for
doing
a
that.
short time.
Yeah, for a short
Sure,
time. If you optimize for happiness, you'd be doing degenerate shit. You'd always be on Pornhub. You'd always be taking drugs. You'd always be out partying. And then you might be super happy. But my happiness comes from progress. And I think respect for myself as well. Like the days I feel the worst, and when I don't respect myself, when I was lazy that day, when I was scrolling that day, when you eat bad that day, that's when I'm most upset. And when I'm happiest is when I would respect myself. If I were to look in the mirror and, like, you gave your all today, I get this deep sense of, like, happiness. More than I get traveling, more than I get doing cool things, is kind of this deep respect for myself is what I value the most.
Yeah, I think people have the wrong definition of happiness. So your definition of happiness is progress. And I think the definition keeps on changing through life. So I think when you get kids, maybe in 10, 20, 30 years, your definition will become the happiness of seeing your kids happy, which means you'll maybe have to not necessarily really slow down, but you have to be a mini less obsessed with work, because you have to spend time with your kids, because otherwise your kids will be less happy. So the definition keeps on changing, I think.
No, I think it's a slippery slope, though, to chase happiness. I think a lot of young men are too busy on porn. And I see it because I am that age, and I think it's a very, very deadly thing. And if you look back, like, in warfare, the Americans on the Japanese, they used to throw a bunch of porn at them, and they would basically create a bunch of propaganda about porn to weaken men. And people are consuming it themselves. Even against the Germans, the Americans tried to put a bunch of porn. They tried to give Hitler, indirectly give him a bunch of propaganda about porn to try weaken him, to try weaken his mind. And now people are taking it in themselves. I mean, this was a war, like, weapon to demasculize the men. And now people are taking in every day on their phone. That's voluntarily.
Crazy, bro. I didn't even know.
In war camps, they used to show a bunch of very explicit girls, and they would kind of create porn to weaken these men. And it was a tool. Always, everyone knows it was used to weaken men. And now people are consuming it themselves on their phone every night. And it's a taboo topic to talk about. And a lot of people, more than you think, do it every single day. I mean, Pornhub is the most visited site in the world. More than TikTok, more than Instagram, the most Googled thing in the world is porn. No term is Googled more than that. And all the holy books are against it for a reason. I think there's a lot of value in that. And it's a very deadly slope, not only because it, like, biologically triggers a crazy amount of dopamine. And dopamine, by definition, you have baseline. And once you go above the baseline, you return back below. That's why drugs are so bad, because you shoot up your baseline, but then it corrects down. And now your baseline is set higher. So I need more to chase it. And porn is similar to drugs in that sense, in that it's a crazy release, like a nuclear bomb of dopamine. And your dopamine systems become numb to it. It's like if you were to drop, say you take drugs a whole bunch, you need a higher dosage for it. The same with dopamine. If you're constantly getting porn, all of a sudden, normal life is super mundane. There's no pleasure in listening to music anymore. There's no pleasure in having a good conversation because you use this crazy high level. Few things are as dopamine rich as what the biological system is for sex. So to watch porn, your body thinks the main purpose of any species is to create more of itself. And your brain thinks that you're accomplishing this while you're watching that video. So it releases crazy amounts of dopamine because it thinks it's doing the ultimate purpose is to continue your offspring, to spread your genes. But you're not doing that. You're none into a sock. So it's not the same at all. So it releases a crazy amount of dopamine. It makes normal life, it's a major cause of depression. It's because people spend so much time chasing after this high of sex and you become very numb to it, that normal life becomes not pleasurable because it's not as pleasurable as sex is or wanking is. So it's a very slippery slope for people. I recommend every young guy to diminish it and get off it completely.
Definitely,
as soon as possible.
Well, yeah. I think we could go and talk for hours, but unfortunately we have a dinner to catch.
Looking forward to it.
I think we could, I think we should definitely run it back. Last time we already said we have to do this in South Africa.
Yeah.
I think we have to make this a goal to actually accomplish it.
Or go to
Let's do
America.
it.
That's also
Let's
an
do it.
option.
Would also be dope.
I'll also be back in the summer, so I'm sure we'll see another.
Of
chat
course,
again. If the guests like me, we'll see.
Let
I
us
bet
know in
they'll
the
do.
comments. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll put everything, all the information in the description, where to find you on TikTok, Instagram, your course, everything.
Amazing.
And let's eat, boys.
Let's
Have
see.
a good one. Pleasure to have me on. Thank you.